And good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Coming up on the program today, talk some Ravens. Cap busy week. Reeta's going to join us in a little bit. Later on, former NFL GM Jeff Diamond, who gave the Ravens an A- for the acquisition of Derrick Henry. He apparently liked Patrick Queen to the Steelers more. He gave that an A. We'll talk about it a little bit later on.
Who's got A+?
I didn't look through the whole list. I got to be honest with you, Griffin. Didn't look through everything.
I guess Hollywood Brown, that's probably an A+.
Joe
Flacco's obviously an A+.
Right, obviously an A+. I bet Hollywood Brown will be helpful. I bet he will. Just seems like something that's going to work for them. Anyway. We'll talk about that with Jeff Diamond, former Vikings, and who else was he a general manager for? He was general manager for the Vikings for sure. I feel like there was somebody else. Texans, maybe. I don't know. Later on in the program, Titans. That's what it was.
It was only for a year or two. Or?
I think that's what is it? It doesn't count.
I'm saying that's why we don't remember.
Maybe I don't know.
The psyche behind it, why?
Unless you're there for 5 years, it didn't happen. Griffin's trying to take away Jeff Diamond's credential.
No, it's not what I was
saying. He was
saying.
never a general manager.
We know it was the Vikings.
Later on in the program, we'll head down to Sarasota. Press box editor Luke Jackson's been down there this week. We will get his thoughts as to what he's seen in his jaunt to spring training. And then we're going to try to get out of here relatively on time today because both of us are involved in a big event this weekend out at Stevenson, the annual Mustang Classic. 10 of the top teams in Division III all descending upon Stevenson at once, which you never believe is a little stressful. Now, it's been nice for me since I've been able to put a staff together because I used to have to do 8 of the games.
Jeez. That must have been a blast.
Who doesn't like making a little money? That's always a good thing, but no, that was way too much.
Memorizing 8 rosters.
Right, and then you always realized how unprepared you were. And I've just gotten to a place in my life where I'd rather not do that. Now, I'm still, in all, going to work 4 games this weekend because I'm filling in on – I'm going to do some PA announcing today. Oh, you want to do some PA announcing next Wednesday?
Wednesday?
Yeah. I never know your busy schedule now that you're the voice of what are you the voice
probably,
of
I think.
Mount St. Mary's baseball.
And McDaniel College,
of course,
as well.
The 5th voice of Mount St. Mary's baseball, as we learned. Somebody told me there wasn't a broadcast the other day for the Maryland game. Do we blame you? The Maryland Mount St. Mary's baseball game. Brian Powell.
No, there was definitely.
Tweeted me during the day and sent me a tweet from somebody else.
Pretty sure I saw
said there is no
of the game.
ESPN Plus broadcast today. So I blame you.
Well, maybe it was Mount All Access.
Maybe.
Don't blame me. They didn't ask me. I would have been there. They know I would.
I think this is your fault that we weren't able to watch the game the other day. I think that's on you. All right. Anyway, so we're going to try to get out of here relatively on time today. Today's show brought to you by Superbook. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23. When you sign up, you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Obviously, no local teams anymore in action. It's all over. It's done. As we assume, no local teams are going to be involved in the NCAA tournament. It is what it is. Who do you think give me just in general. I'm looking at futures to win the NCAA tournament. The favorite is
UConn.
UConn is the favorite, defending champs. At what? What do you think they are?
Plus 475.
So close, 450. 450, so close. Next,
the lines. Per Houston
actually is the correct answer because it's Purdue and Houston tied
they are? Okay.
at plus 600. Well done. Well done. Round out the top. I got 9 up on the screen right now. Zona's next, plus 800.
Tennessee.
Look at you.
All right.
Plus 1,000.
That's the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Man, now it's probably a little tough. Kentucky lost a couple down the stretch there. Kansas is probably not good.
Kind of falling apart. Yeah.
Iowa State.
Iowa State is 8th. Iowa State is 8th at plus 2,000. 2 teams in front of Iowa State.
2 teams in front of Iowa State would be Marquette.
Not Marquette. Marquette not in the
Did
top
you see the play
9.
that they had at the end of the game last night?
I did not. Oh, this is the Villanova game, right?
Yes. Yeah. They waved off the basket because they didn't get it all. I mean, it was like it was the closest call I've ever seen in my life. But the inbounds play was incredible from Shaka.
Well, and Villanova is probably not going to the tournament?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Who am I forgetting? It's not going to be Creighton.
Come on and raise up. Take your shirt off. Twist it around your head. Spin it like a helicopter.
I don't know why that
really
doesn't help me.
Shameful that you don't know Petey Pablo. Really shameful. Read a book, man. This one's for North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, ACC sucks this year, so
that's true. Real shame about Duke last night. Just a real bummer. Real bummer.
And there's one more better than Iowa State.
Yeah, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Kentucky at plus 1,800 and Alabama plus 2,500, tied
Auburn?
with Creighton, Baylor, and Auburn, and Duke and Marquette. So there you go. Actually, technically, Marquette was tied for the top 9 because everybody is tied for 9th. The point of all of this is go to superbook.com, download the Superbook app, and use the code Glenn Clark 23. And the second point is we will again be doing a $20 buy-in, winner take half charity bracket contest this year. I hate this. I hate organizing it. Drives me effing nuts. At some point, Griffin should be taking this over.
Well, you want me to make the group and you just
no? Brian Powell's made the group.
Oh, okay. You just got to handle the money.
I gotta do the. I gotta stump. I gotta stump for it. I mean, this should be your area.
All right, hold on a second. Text people now.
You know people. The young people are the people that like doing this. People my age are over it. All right, I need you in. Half the money's going to Show Your Soft Side, an amazing animal charity. We try to do this for them every year. I've had the pleasure of being involved with Show Your Soft Side. They're incredible. They do remarkable work to protect animals in our community. And, we do our big event every year for people, obviously, when it comes to helping out mission. So I'd like to do this one for animals. So 50% of the pot, whatever it ends up being. And I always say we'll cap it at like
30 to 40. Is that what we?
I've never gone past 50.
Okay.
Like I don't think normally we don't get to 50. Like I don't know, right? I don't know. Maybe we have, but I'll never go past 50. 50 is the extreme limit of what I'm willing to do. Winner take half. So whatever that ends up being, if we get 20 people in, then you get your answer. It'll be $200 for the winner, $200 for the charity. 30 people in. $300 for the charity, $300. Like that's what we're doing here. Got it? Yes, you can buy multiple spots if you want to do different. I don't care. I'm over that. It used to be like, no, one per. I don't give a rat's ass. Person,
so people can do 50 if they.
If you want to, that's all I care about is raising money for a charity, man. I mean, like if you want to buy 10 spots in the bracket pool,
50 brackets and you don't win.
It's on you. It's on you. I don't care anymore because it's for charity. It's a charity event. If you want to improve your odds, go right ahead. But, like, I can't guarantee you're going to win. So, that's the deal. Need you to get in. Glenn Clark on Venmo.
Got it. I got both PFF Sean's are in.
Oh, God. I was nervous about whether or not the Sean's. was starting to wonder.
Good news.
Starting to wonder if they were going to get in.
Relax.
Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App or Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal. Those are the many ways to get in our charity bracket contest. Get in today. I'll go ahead and send you the link so that you'll have it for Sunday night when the brackets are announced. Of course, the team that will not be announced in the brackets, as I mentioned, it came to an end for the local teams. Morgan State lost yesterday in the MEAC tournament, and Maryland got throttled.
I didn't know it was a legacy game for Wisconsin.
Throttled. The Big Ten tournament. Griffin and I were watching for like a minute, and then the moment that Griffin left, I said, why would I keep watching this? Like, I actually said something to Griffin at the first, like, why do I care? Like, and he realized
because like we're watching, like, Wisconsin makes a shot, and I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, wait, why?
Yeah, why do we care? And I said, I think it's that we're just conditioned, hey, it's March, we're supposed to be like
basketball.
But that's fine. There's a million other basketball games on. But you're conditioned to watching your team be involved in March.
Some sort of association.
Right. Like, but we know. We know. This wasn't an indictment on Maryland. This is who they are. So, yeah, I didn't give it much longer than I said, let's see what's happening at Indian Wells. And it turns out the answer is Bees. They're everywhere. It was that scene from Tommy Boy at Indian Wells yesterday. Carlos Alcaraz stung by a bee, and they might want to investigate because then Carlos Alcaraz did to Alex Zverev what Wisconsin did to Maryland yesterday after he got stung by a bee.
Performance-enhancing bees, potentially?
I'm starting to wonder.
PEBs?
It was like a 2-hour delay to get rid of all the bees at Indian Wells.
Jeez.
And then they came back, and Carlos Alcaraz just
was locked in.
Oh, my God. So that's how I spent my time. And I got to tell you, it was way better than watching Maryland. Although, once I heard that Duke was in a tussle, I said to myself, welp, going to go ahead and flip on over to that. Told you, my guy is DJ Burns. That's my guy.
DJ Burns is your guy.
Because look at him. He's fat. Like, you know what I mean? We've at trivia this year for some reason. I guess NC State's had the Monday games a few times because there's always an ACC game on Mondays.
Yeah, I feel like Virginia a good bit.
So NC State's had a few Monday games, and every time we're at trivia and NC State's on, I look up. I'm like, yeah, that's my guy. It makes no sense.
Suns, go get him.
I don't know about that. I don't know. They really need a. I did not watch any of the game against the Celtics last night, and I'm glad I didn't because. But the Celtics really do look like a machine, don't they? God.
Yeah, but I mean, this is every year.
I'll still take the Nuggets. I'll still take the Nuggets. I saw somebody trying to do the Celtics or the field bit recently. I'm like, is this really what we're doing? Like,
I'll take the field.
Yes. Why are we pretending like the Celtics, who have not won a title in this current, are like unbeatable? My God, man. Like, I'm not saying they aren't good. They're obviously quite good. Clearly, they're very good. But maybe let them win something before we pretend like they're unbeatable. It's very bizarre the way that we do this, but that's the nature of the discourse. Just some final thoughts about Maryland basketball for this year. Let me do put the season to bed. I ultimately will struggle with how bad things are versus how bad things got. It's almost a chicken and the egg type of situation. Was the team always this bad, or was it self-fulfilling prophecy after they lost a certain number of games? To be fair, the performances that we saw late in the year, like the team totally quitting, the way that they blew, who was it they had the massive lead? Indiana, right? They had the big lead against, and then it all fell apart. That, getting throttled the way they did yesterday, do those things happen if you go back to some of the close games earlier in the year, they win a couple of those? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But how bad was it versus how bad did they get because things weren't going their way? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. It's roster construction in hindsight will always be a problem. That said, clearly, I think all of us thought that Deshaun Harris-Smith and Jamie Kaiser were going to be better than they ended up being. And we can say, hey, that's an indictment of freshmen in general. Like, that's been part of the conversation, is that nationally, like, where we were with college basketball before the pandemic was you built with freshmen. You wanted to put the most loaded group of freshmen together that you possibly can. Either because we had more veteran players sticking around, or those guys all lost something in development with a year of no basketball. I don't know what it is, but post-pandemic, the answer has not been freshmen. The answer has been transfer portal, which, ironically, we can joke about it, is kind of what Mark Turgeon was seeing late in his tenure and some of the criticism he got, that he stopped, like, recruiting. He stopped going out and seeing high schoolers and just obsessed over the transfer portal. Now, he didn't do well enough, like, in the transfer portal to make up the difference. So it's not like me giving a pass to Mark Turgeon. But it is kind of funny that it was something that we criticized him for, that he stopped going to see high school players altogether. He stopped trying to recruit and just started saying, we're going to go to the transfer portal. There's still got to be somewhere between that. And we are going to finally be coming out of the era of, 5th, 6th year players. but we're still going to be looking at an era of the way to find your talent is probably the way the Cam Spencer route. The way to find your talent is to find someone else's sophomore or junior that's performing at a certain level that you think it's their skill, and if you put them at the highest level, that skill will translate. Now, is Maryland in position to get the best of those guys? Not remotely. Not close. Can they get enough of those guys? How do you marry that with still attempting to recruit, still attempting to bring in talented players, talented-driven players? It's something that, Kevin Willard's going to be here. That's the reality. Whatever his staff looks like moving forward, they're going to have to try to figure that out. It's easy to indict them on the roster they put together this year. I still would say the bigger indictment is the lack of development. That's the part that, you can't shake. You can't shake. What does this say about this coach, this coaching staff, that they didn't get anything out of these two freshmen? Really. I mean, I know they both had their moments. I don't have that answer yet. It's something that, we'll measure based on how Derrick Queen performs a year from now. Kevin Willard's not getting fired. It's not happening. And in part because it'd be a wildly unfair way to measure a coach is to say, hey, you had one year where you were a game under 500, so obviously you have to be fired. But more because his buyout is utterly preventative of it. He's the biggest buyout in the country. I think it's totally fair for Maryland fans to say they're fearful that they're right back in purgatory. That was the joke we always used with Turgeon, right? It was Turgatory. I can't tell you you're not until you see otherwise. The column I'll write on Monday, well, I don't know. Maybe they'll prefer that I write something Ravens. God, I don't know. I don't know, but I intended to write my mea culpa column because I was the guy that said coming into the year this was as confident as I had been in Maryland basketball's big picture health in some time. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, I've never been more wrong. We overreacted to one season where, again, if you go back and look at it, there was a lot of anomaly involved in last season as well. Last season, they just happened to win a bunch of home games, and they won the games that were close. This year, the games that were close, they didn't win for the most part. They also got throttled. I mean, they got throttled by Villanova at the beginning of the year, and in hindsight, that's kind of embarrassing because Villanova wasn't that good. It's hard to figure how the depth of it. It's hard to figure, can it be fixed? Can you talk yourself into, if Derrick Queen's the guy everybody says he is, and you hit the transfer portal for a few guys, and there's a step up from Deshaun Harris-Smith and Jamie Kaiser, again, presuming they return, because that's the way we have to talk about college basketball now, you could convince yourself that this is a far more competitive team a year from now. And they better be. Because if they're not, then you're having those conversations. And you're finding some money somewhere. Even if they're better but still not good. They could be better next year and still not make the tournament. That's how bad it is. There's still room here. Villanova's better than Maryland, and they're not in the tournament. They need to be a tournament team a year from now. There's not room for trying to show growth. No. The floor was supposed to be what you did in year one. That was supposed to establish your floor. That was supposed to be worst case scenario. Hey, we didn't have that much time to come in, and everything will be up from here. So you got to recalibrate. If it goes the other way, if next year it's, hey, we're better, but there's going to be pitchforks. I mean, there's going to be a hell-bent nature to say, we don't have time for this. And it might be unfair to Kevin Willard because essentially we'd be drawing one big, this is just Turgeon all over again, and it's unfair for him to be described by the events of the previous administration, but that's the way it'll go. That's the reality. Every time a Maryland lacrosse coach came in, They had to carry the weight of 40 years, or whatever the drought was at the time they arrived, since the program had won a national championship. That's it. That's you took this job. That was your cross to bear. The fan base is miserable. I was joking yesterday with some friends of mine that I pulled up that it was 15 years ago was the year that Maryland lost to Michigan State in the Corey Lucius, the famous they got Corey Lucius in the NCAA tournament that year.
Was the Draymond Green team or
was Draymond on that? I guess he would have been. Was he on that team? I don't even remember.
This was 2010 or 11?
2009.
Oh,
2009.
2009. Oh,
15 years ago. So, and it's funny because the way I described it was, wow, this was the last good Maryland basketball team 15 years ago, maybe of my lifetime. And I get it, one time since then, they reached a step further. They made one Sweet 16 post that, but that was about the most miserable, unfun Maryland basketball season ever because insanely, we all thought they were a national championship contender going into the year because they had gotten Rasheed Suleiman and Diamond Stone, and there was nothing about that team that ever suggested they got lucky and somebody got upset, so they didn't have to play anybody in the second round of the tournament, and they got a gift to the Sweet 16 where they proceeded to get throttled. I don't remember who all these teams were.
Yeah.
Was it Kansas? It might have been.
I think they got beat by Kansas.
Might have been
bad one time.
Yeah. I mean, like they were non-competitive in the Sweet 16, and they never were going to be. And it wasn't an accomplishment to make it because they were just gifted the path because they had to play like
Hawaii or something.
Yeah, Hawaii and South Dakota State maybe were the two teams they beat in order to get there. Like they didn't beat anybody. Remember, they didn't beat anyone in the NCAA tournament in the Mark Turgeon era until the pandemic, the year where the tournament was all in Indianapolis. And they beat, UConn, right, was the team that they beat that year. But you got to carry all that. That's 15 years since there's even been a good team. A team that anybody actually believed could do something. And legitimately, that Gravis Vasquez team, we believed before they got Corey Lucius at the buzzer that they could make a Final Four run. We didn't think they were national championship caliber, but that if things broke for them, they could get to the Final Four. That was the last team that anyone had any belief in. And no, the last 15 years don't fall on Kevin Willard, but that's what you take this job, that's what you're dealing with. Is 15 years since there's even been a good team. 20 years since there's been an actual accomplishment, which, of course, was winning the ACC tournament 20 years ago. 20 years ago this week was the last time Maryland basketball accomplished anything of note. Anything, John Colson, that mattered. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Atmans is coming up today. We like that.
Right.
St. Patrick's Day. We're celebrating. Yeah.
Nice.
Hope you're hungry. That's what Maryland fans feel. And understandably so. It's not wrong of them to feel that way. It's not wrong of them to put the burden of that on this coaching staff. And if you couldn't handle that, then you shouldn't take the job. You're here to fix that, is the way that you got to approach it. You want that to be the measurement, is we're going to end this 20-year streak of futility of doing anything that matters. Yes, there were a couple of shared, conference regular season championships in there. That's not, I guess it's unfair to call that nothing,
and
but
of course,
like
2020 was the best team that Turgeon had.
Not down the stretch. Like at a point it was. Like at a point you believe that, and then they were really struggling down the stretch. Like they felt like a team that was ready to get knocked out early. Like they were really. That was a team that should have won the Big Ten outright that year and didn't because they were slumping down the stretch and made you believe that they were ready to have a Maryland in the NCAA tournament that year. We'll see. What?
To have a Maryland.
I mean, that's what they were. They were a team that could play kind of well during the regular season and never played their best basketball in March. Right, this year they didn't even play well in the regular season. But one of the things you could always count on for Maryland basketball under Mark Turgeon was they were never rising. Remember the Tom Izzo bit was always that team. The team you see in December ain't going to be the team you see in March.
They lost to JMU opening night. And
it's the exact opposite that we got used to under Mark Turgeon, which was the team you see in December definitely will not be the same team that you see in March. In December, you're going to believe. In March, you just want it to be over. just get it over with. I don't have much more. It will be interesting to see what the attrition is. I know there's been a lot of rumblings on the internet. Rudy Gersten, who's like a huge Maryland fan, like suggested that like half the team could transfer.
I mean, does not seem unfathomable.
No, and then the immediate follow-up question is, okay, but what's the if you were this with those guys? How much worse can you be without them? And I get it. If the answer is you're replacing them with worse players, then yes, you could be worse. But I don't think they want to lose Juju Reese, for example. But what's happened to Juju Reese? How do you explain a guy that showed up and looked like a force and since then has looked like a guy? I don't know what to make of it. I certainly don't know how to make of the free throw shooting. Like, the free throw shooting is the most insane part of the Juju Reese story. It almost makes you worry about Derek Queen. Like, he arrives as a great free throw shooter, right? Well, so did Juju Reese. What happened there? If Juju Reese departs, he departs, and that would be a bummer because I do think that he could still be helpful and maybe would benefit from having Derek Queen on the floor with him. But, obviously Dante Scott will be gone. Dante Scott, that's a fair point. Dante Scott never became the guy that anybody thought, like, every single one of us would always look like Dante Scott and be like, man, there really is something there. And it would just never be there. Like, you'd see it for moments.
Every 4 or 5 games, he'd knock down like 3
you'd be like, oh, there's the guy. There's the guy we always thought he would be. And it just...
He'd get a block late in the game. And
it just never sustained. I do think they want to have the freshmen come back. The two, anyway. Like, if I wouldn't blame John Lamothe for transferring, obviously, because clearly they didn't think he was good enough. And maybe he needs to be at a different level or just around a different coach or something. It is as bad as they were that they never thought maybe we give John Lamothe a look. It's rough. That's rough. Any of these other guys?
Matty Trior.
Sure. I mean, like, I'm sure they'd like to have some sort of front court depth back next year, but none of these guys, Caleb Swanton, Roger, none of these guys are players. The kid
that big dunk over Edey last year.
The kid that transferred last year that didn't play, what was that? Chance Stevens. I think they'd like to have him back. I think they believe that he could have really helped them as a shooter, which clearly they could have used.
Anyone could have.
Anything in that department.
I might have been on help.
So I'm going to guess they'd like to have him back because they thought that he could be helpful in that department. But, yeah, there's going to be some attrition, and they're going to have a lot of work to do. And a lot of work specifically in the portal because they don't have a lot coming in incoming freshman-wise. Like, the portal's going to have to be the answer. But it's over, and mercifully, it's over. Imagine if somehow they had won that game. We had to go through this again another day.
I mean,
you start doing a bit like maybe they could. No, they can't. They're not good.
All right, that's why they play the game.
Championship weekend gets underway tonight in the state high school basketball playoffs down in College Park. And if you want to see the full schedule, the full rundown, head to countysports.zone. It's brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. When we come back in, our friend, the NFL chick, Reeta Hubbard, will get her thoughts on the week that has been for the Baltimore Ravens. That's next, Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, Pressbox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Friday edition of the program. And, of course, you heard us talking about college basketball. We've got the spot for you to hang out for the first day of the big basketball bonanza, whatever we're allowed to say. You know what it is. It starts on Thursday, and starting at noon, Griffin and I are going to be hanging out at Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland. We want you to come hang out with us. They're going to be, first of all, it's the most incredible atmosphere for watching basketball. But on top of that, we're going to have some baseball tickets to give away. We're going to have some other giveaways during the course of the games. And it's just an awesome place for you to come, take advantage of the food specials and everything. We're going to be having fun at Sports and Social this Thursday, starting at noon. You can go to their website and reserve your tables. If you want to show up there, you can reserve reclining chairs. I would get there early on Thursday because I think some of it is just first come, first serve. So if you want to hang out for the day, I would get there at like maybe 9 a.m., have some breakfast, hang out, watch our show from the comfort of your chair because we're going to be doing the show early on Thursday. And then we'll be with you starting at noon on Thursday for the basketball event thing, the big one. And you not being there would be madness. So come join us this Thursday at Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel. All right, joining us now. I wanted to catch up. We're not doing a show on Sunday on 105.7 The Fan, so I wanted to revisit something that she and I talked about this past Sunday and see where we are. She, of course, is our friend, the NFL chick, Reeta Hubbard, and she's back with us now here on GCR. What's up, friend? How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm all right. So we had this conversation last Sunday on the show. I said you would be if we get the next Sunday, what would you be excited about and what would you be disappointed by? So I want to revisit that and see for the totality of the week at the start of free agency where you are, where your emotions are about what the Ravens have and have not done.
Okay.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
That's what you had what to say. What they've done is lose some guys, and that's the business. I think that, everybody knows how I feel about the Derrick Henry situation. I like Derrick Henry a lot. He wasn't my first choice, but I also think that it's a solid pickup because of his productivity. And as of right now, it doesn't appear that he lost a step. My concern is, and obviously I really don't like the dude Taylor Lewan. I think he's a troll, a guy that started a podcast because he can't play football anymore. But I don't disagree with the idea of how does this fit into what it is that they do? Because it's not necessarily like something that he was doing in Tennessee in terms of like zone read options or RPOs. This is a different dynamic. He was just simply asked to run the football. That's it, and that's all. And so my concern is, how is that going to play out? I think that Derrick Henry, the running back, in terms of like pure, like just between the tackles, the handoffs, is going to be fine. Hopefully with a better offensive line, a more athletic offensive line that Eric DeCosta talked about. But ultimately, I don't know what that part is going to look like, so that'll be interesting. And then speaking of the offensive line, we talked about this as well. I mean, I've always felt that 3/5 of this line was going to move. I never thought for one second that Ronnie Stanley was going to be gone. It didn't make financial sense to get rid of him. 2025 is more ideal for that breakup to happen, in my opinion. But ultimately, you have to retool your line. And what does that mean for Derrick Henry in that regard? So those are two concerns. Yeah, I mean, you solidified your running back position, you think, because you still need another running back, right? You only got 2 healthy running backs at the moment. But once you figure that out, okay, well, who's blocking for him? That's the part that I think that we're concerned about. And then obviously I know how you feel about the other side of the ball in terms of like pass rush, and it's a completely valid point there. What are you doing here? I mean, once we heard that the Chargers was potentially getting rid of people, I was like, oh, this would be a great time to try to get Khalil back. Oh, my God. And then Khalil Mack stayed with the LA Chargers. And so I don't know what your options are at this point. I mean, obviously, you still have Clowney out there. He's talking to teams. Kyle Van Noy is talking to teams. I made the joke earlier that, whatever Clowney does, he ain't going to make a decision till August because he don't want to do training camp. He's going to try to find a way to get up out of that. But ultimately, there's a lot of question marks that are still remaining on this team.
I acknowledge that it's difficult because, again, somebody would say it's still incomplete. But that's what when I try to say, like, taking an emotionally at this week, how are you feeling? Good? It feels like in your recap, it feels like it's sort of a measured. I'm sort of in this place where if I said, hey, how do I feel about the totality of the week? I feel like it's been a okay week. I think if we were really being honest, we'd have to acknowledge the Ravens are a worse overall team today than they were, but that's okay because they don't have to play a football game for a little while.
Correct, and that's the part. Look, we know what the Ravens do. This is what they do every year, unfortunately, Glenn. Sometimes guys are going to go to other teams. I mean, that's what happens when you are a good football team. I think the problem, too, is that once you look at teams like Philly and, it's like, where is Philly getting all this money from? Because they just signing everybody. You know what I'm saying? And they're a team that just 2 years ago was in the Super Bowl. 2 seasons ago, excuse me. And you're like, well, why aren't the Ravens doing that? Well, that's just not what they do. It's not who they are. They don't really make all these big splashes in free agency the way that you want them to. And so now we have to look at 2 things: the draft and post-June cuts. What is it that they're going to do from that point on? And I think that that's where you go with that. Because I think, look, anybody that's still out there in free agency, I'm not saying that they can't come back to the Ravens, because there's 2 guys literally that was there last year that are technically still free agents now. So I'm not saying that, but I mean, the bulk of like the really good players are gone. And so I think now you have to start looking into what is it that they're going to do about the draft? What is it that they're going to do about free agency? Those are where the Ravens, I think, flourish the most, where, they have good, solid picks that contribute to their football teams typically immediately. And then they have, the post-June cuts where they can add somebody to the roster. So that's all we got at this point. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. People are like, well, what about a trade? Who?
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, I would have been good with them making the trade that the Bears made for Keenan Allen.
Okay, yeah, but it didn't happen.
I know,
my point is, on Friday, March 15th,
right.
He's not available anymore. So at this point here, what is my question?
I know what you're saying. I guess my question would be, well, why didn't you make that move? They clearly are doing something, right? They cleared $10 million in space with Ronnie Stanley.
Correct.
The answer might be that's the money that we're going to need to sign Jadeveon Clowney, right? Like, that might be what this is. It's just that we already figured it out. That's the money we need. They still could get more money from Lamar Jackson's deal, right? There's still more money that they could have for the season just by reworking Lamar Jackson's contract. But presumably the money that they did with Ronnie Stanley and obviously are, doing what they did, releasing Tyus Bowser, there is more money to be spent at this point. Is that for an offensive lineman? Is that to bring back Jadeveon Clowney? My gut tells me that Clowney would be the priority, but this is still the Ravens too that might just say, look, man, there's an amount that we're willing to spend on that player, and if it goes beyond that, we're not doing it. Even if we think we have a need, we're just not doing it. Like, this is sort of been their MO at all times, and sometimes that's bit them in the ass, right? Like, clearly in hindsight, they should have been willing to spend $6 million. Never mind, I'm not going to revisit Anquan Bolden today. But, I think they're not clearing the money to do nothing to me, right? Like, that they're clearing the money because they want to do something. It's just a question of what that something is. Is it a veteran receiver? Where do they think they need to address it before the draft? And before June 1st. And to me, I would continue to say, as many holes as they have on the offensive line, I would be more inclined to say, figure that out with the draft and post June 1st and the guys that you already have than I am when it comes to edge rush. Like, to me, singularly, my priority would still be edge rush.
Yeah, as it should be, right? I mean, to me, it's equal. I think it's 1A and 1B, edge rush and offensive line, because you don't have anybody on the offensive line but 2 people. So you got to do something. But they're, to me, equally important, I guess is my point. Like, the trenches are always, to me, going to be the biggest things that teams could do to be better. And as of right now, you don't have any – you're missing 3 dudes, so obviously that's a priority. But ultimately, too, on the other side, there's too many question marks with Ajabo and Away in terms of, what it is. Like, you need some help there. Because Ajabo is just nothing but potential. He can't stay healthy. So we don't know what he really can be like. We just think that he's going to be a really good player because he played really well at Michigan, right? But in terms of his NFL career, it just hasn't really worked out that way. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. So, I mean, hopefully you get one of those positions, you'll find a way to start solidifying a little bit in free agency. Because, look, did Kevin Zeitler go anywhere? I know that they said that they were moving on, but, like, when do you start saying, okay?
Yeah, it's
there's
boy.
3 dudes missing though, but there's like it ain't like just 1 or 2 though, Glenn. It's 3.
No, I know, I understand. It's so uniquely difficult with Kevin Zeitler because you're also taking on nearly $4 million in dead space. Like it's just it's such a bizarre thing. I'm not saying no. It's just very weird, the situation you're dealing with. Reeta's with us here on GCR. Reeta, I think the point that I make with edge rush, and it's going to sound a little bit weird, if they said internally today, we'll live with Faalele as our right tackle, our two guards being Voorhees and Cleveland, knowing the intent will be we find someone else in the draft and probably still find another John Simpson after June 1st. So instead of it being all three of them that end up being starters, it's one, maybe two of them that are starters. I have an almost absurd, profound level of faith in what the Ravens do at guard over the years, right? Like, they have figured guard out. They have very rarely not had that guy. I don't have the same faith for them to not prioritize edge rush. And somebody would say, well, the last couple of years they figured it out, right? Like, they've been able to I don't have the same internal faith that the guy that they line up can just make it work at edge rush the way that they do, but the guy that they line up at guard will figure it out because their track record, it's like guard, defensive tackle, and inside linebacker. Their history suggests they're going to figure those three things out to me.
Yeah, and look, they probably will, right? I asked that on Twitter a couple of days ago, and this was before the Moses trade, but I essentially gave a similar line that you just did. I said, how do you feel about, having Ronnie at left tackle, Voorhees at left guard, Tyler at center, then Cleveland at right guard, and then I think I did a combo of whether it be Moses, Makari, or Faalele. Not too many people were thrilled with that. And I kept getting, Voorhees, we don't know anything about Voorhees, and I'm like, well, he has no experience. Well, how do people get experience?
Correct.
I'm confused. Like, well, what was he supposed to do? I don't understand. Like, Voorhees literally was a day 2 grade before his injury. And he was a great utility player at USC. I mean, by great, I mean in terms of like his versatility, right? Because he could play 3 different positions. But my thing is that so he lacks whatever it is that you think in terms of, him having experience, but that's most people. That's actually all people when they start playing football. They don't have NFL experience, okay? But he's playing. My point was he's playing between 2 seasoned vets at this point. So how does that hurt if, yes, he has an injury. Yes, he has an ACL injury that he was dealing with, fine. But how does that hurt him if he's playing in between 2 guys who have played essentially very well overall in their careers? And that's why I think that's where the Ravens are going. They're doing PR stuff that to me says that that's where they want to go with that. So I think solidifying the right side of the line is more of a priority because I low-key think that they really want Voorhees to be the left guard and have kind of put that out there that they want him to be the left guard without actually saying it, right? So, yeah, but ultimately, do we trust Ben Cleveland too, Glenn? Because I still don't. I don't.
Get it. I mean, he certainly had his moments this year, but if the bar was low for him, like the bar was, we don't think he can play,
exactly.
And then he came out a couple times this year, and we said, oh wow, that's better than we've seen Ben Cleveland before. But again, that was a low bar.
Right. I just don't know what we want with Ben. Like, why are y'all so okay with like Ben Cleveland, but not willing to give a dude like Voorhees, who was great and high before an injury, a chance? That's the part that I think I'm confused about. But ultimately, and that's nice. Look, the Ravens are still. That's what 6 linemen that I counted because Moses is gone. So now I'm talking Makari / Faalele at the right tackle side, and we know Faalele and Moses did a lot of they went in and out a lot of times. So he clearly had some experience over there. But now you have to figure out how to solidify the backup or put some of those guys back on the on the bench and get you some utility linemen that can come in immediately and play. So we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, I think it's 1A and 1B. I think, Glenn, for you, it's 1A.
It's almost 1-2 to me at this point. Like it's really more like a.
You just got to protect Lamar, dog. That's the bread and butter, and that's why I say that.
Yeah.
You pay that man a lot of money. You got to find a way to make sure that he's upright because prior to this past season, we know what happened the last 2 years.
I hear you. I just have a little bit more faith there than I have at edge rush. Like I have more faith in that the guys
that you know on the bench.
That they drafted guys for a reason. If they have to play I think they're capable of playing because more often than not, the guys they've drafted late on the offensive line have kind of proved to be at least competent players. Like, they've got a track record there. I don't think it's a nightmare scenario, and I still think they're going to do more. I still do think they're going to draft early an offensive lineman that could be a player on day one. I still think that after June 1st, they'll end up bringing in another John Simpson. To me, the nightmare scenario, like the scenario where for whatever reason nobody else comes in that's a player, I have more faith that they can survive with that group of guys than I have faith that they can survive on the other side of things. That's just.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I do understand the logic behind that. Because like you said, they have developed guards well, or they've brought in really good guys that have been guards overall. But I get it. So I'm again, that's why I'm like, I don't fight with you about that.
Right.
I'm still with you. I just don't think that, like, I definitely think you find that pass rush is more of a priority.
Yep,
than me.
That's where I'm at. All right, what do you want to say about Tyus before we wrap up?
Oh man, I shed some tears. Listen, I know it's the business, and I'm very well aware of how this goes. I know that you're not really supposed to get attached to people, but Tyus really made that hard in terms of like being attached to, him saying goodbye. I'm gonna be honest, Glenn. Is it wrong for me to just hope that maybe they can find a reunion later on down the line?
I'd love it, but I don't think that's. I just don't think it's.
I don't think it is either. I know, because I know how last year went, and I don't think that's gonna leave the good taste in anyone's mouth in terms of how that went down. But I would so love that. I really would love that. But anyway, Tyus is such a great human, man. I mean, he is, he's a good football player here. And I do hate that didn't pan itself out because of injuries. Because I do think that when Tyus is healthy, he absolutely brings something to the table in terms of, whoever, if he decides to play somewhere else next year, he's going to be a good football player if he's healthy. But in terms of him being the human, I mean, he's just such a great human being, dog. Like, and I'm sure that there's a lot of great humans in football or sports in general, but we had the opportunity and we got to work close with one of them. And that's the part that I'm going to miss the most because, him buying you your dunks for your birthday and, all of that stuff. Like, look, nobody thinks about things like that. And it's not because people aren't genuinely, good people. It's just like, something people don't tend to think about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But he put a lot of thought into that. He put a lot of thought into getting us hoodies with our names on them, which I'm going to continue to wear every Sunday because that was my good luck charm. And I really hope for the best for him. I really do, because he deserves it. He deserves the world. And I'm really going to miss Tyus. So.
Yep. It's.
I think it's a lot of questions like, well, y'all, is anybody else like gonna come around? I'm like, damn, can we?
Yeah,
wait a
right.
minute?
Yeah, give us a minute. Give us a minute.
Can we grieve a little bit?
We'll get back to you. Give us a minute.
We just lost our friend here. You know what I'm saying? Like, golly.
Yeah.
So I'm a miss Tyus, man. But I told him, look, Orioles play in Houston in June. I told him I'm definitely texting him. I'm coming over. I'm going to get myself some food. So tell your family.
I love it. I love that.
I'm coming through.
I love that. We will not be together. In fact, Reeta and I might be. It might be a couple of weeks, honestly, before Reeta and I are together
I don't like
again.
that, friend.
So the NCAA tournament's going to be on 105.7 The Fan for the next couple of weeks. So, I think we're off Wednesday. I think we're off next Sunday. I think it might be a few weeks before Reeta and I are back together.
Be a minute.
And then I'm, unavailable on a lot of Wednesdays after that, so we're going to have to deal with that, too. So we'll figure it out. That's
y'all
what it is.
Trying to jump out on me all
No, settle down. Love you, friend. We will talk soon enough. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Have a good weekend.
Of course, Gridiron Gals and Winning Drive as always for Reeta. And, we'll be back together at some point. Just taking a little break here for the NCAA tournament. And this Sunday, some championship games on the air on 105.7. And then the NCAA tournament after that. So we'll be back. Somebody asked me, why don't you guys do a podcast? That's what we're doing right now. That's what this was. We do enough podcasts. We don't have time for more podcasts. Oh, my God. Look at all of this. Look at all of this. Oh, this is awkward timing-wise.
Yeah, it is.
Can you guys hang for a minute? Okay, awesome. The crew from Atman's. There's a new Atman's. I don't know if you guys have heard. That's news in the streets. There's a new Atmans in Harbor Point. Somebody you know is so excited about that. And they decided to come by today with some food for us. And, yeah. Now, we need to talk to Jeff Diamond, former NFL GM. He's scheduled to join us. And so we'll get you some more content, and then you can listen to Griffin and I eat. That's the way that it'll go.
Works for me.
All right, that'll be the plans. Hour number 1 of today's show is winding down. If you missed Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, and Luke Jackson getting together, they do it every Monday at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And if you miss it live, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/video, all the ways to find it. Talk a little bit more about Derrick Henry and what the Ravens have done. Jeff Diamond, former NFL GM, joins us next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
If you haven't picked up the new print issue of Pressbox yet, get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. On the cover, we dive into the 2024 Baltimore Orioles as they try to take the next step towards winning a World Series. A lot of lacrosse content in this issue as well. Go get it right now for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of those hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox, or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. All right, I was perusing at the 33rd team and saw that our next guest liked the Ravens' acquisition of Derrick Henry. In fact, he gave it an A-, is what he said about the Ravens bringing in the former Titans running back. Let's talk a little bit more about that in the week that's been in free agency. We really appreciate former NFL GM Jeff Diamond taking some time for us this morning here on GCR. Jeff, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Sure, happy to join you guys.
Jeff, I'm in this weird place when we talk about the Derrick Henry acquisition because in a vacuum, it's Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. There is no way for me to think there's anything bad about that combination whatsoever. I have maybe some trepidations about what the priority was for the Ravens, if they were going to spend money in free agency and where their biggest areas of need were and whether running back really is that. But simply stated, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson sounds like a really good idea in a backfield.
Yeah, it sure does. And I think it was a terrific move for the Ravens. I think that Derrick Henry is still a quality back in the league. He had another excellent season last year. And sure, he's getting older. We know that. And that's always a danger when you sign free agents, that I think one of the cardinal rules is not to sign a player 30 or older in free agency or getting close to 30. You want to sign players who are coming out of their rookie contracts if you possibly can. But sometimes there are exceptions to the rule. And I think a guy like Derrick Henry, who's been basically healthy in his career and is a power back, not necessarily a speed back, but he's still got good speed. He's just such a good player and is such a good fit for the Ravens. I think it's just a great acquisition. And yeah, Gus Edwards was a good running back, but he's not a Hall of Fame running back that Derrick Henry is. And so I think that Lamar Jackson has to be thrilled, and the Ravens have to be thrilled to get Derrick Henry on this deal.
Jeff, what do you make of the other side of it? And obviously, as I ask you to put your GM hat on, that once you have spent your big money on a quarterback and your quarterback is soaking up a certain amount of your salary cap, that you just can't budget any real money to a running back after that. That at that point, there are other positions that are simply too important for you to address, that you can't, as good of a running back as might be available, it's just not the way that you should go about budgeting your salary cap to spend any real money at running back any longer.
Yeah, but I think the less risky part of it is it's a short-term deal, and so they're not on the hook for potential dead money down the road, and so I think it's in that regard it's a more safe type of play for the Ravens, and as I said, acquiring a player like that who can be so impactful, especially you think about late in the year in cold weather games, that you can pound him behind a good offensive line. Now they perhaps still have to make sure they address some of the needs that they have, and obviously not a lot of cap room to do it. Kevin Zeitler, I believe, is still out there, and so there are some moves that the Ravens still need to make, but you look at what they've done, and being able to keep Madubuike was huge, I think, and get him signed. I think that's a big deal for the defense. And you look at the strength of that team defensively with guys like Hamilton and Madubuike and Roquan Smith. And so, yeah, you lose Patrick Queen, but you've got a young draft choice coming up behind him. They knew they were going to lose Patrick Queen. So I think the Ravens are in good shape, and I think they've improved themselves even with just one signing. And sometimes that's all it takes if you're already a quality team that got to the AFC title game.
He's former NFL GM Jeff Diamond. He's with us here on GCR. Jeff, let me pose it this way, again, for the sake of playing devil's advocate. Was Derrick Henry the difference for the Ravens being able to close the gap and get over the hump that is the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs?
That, I would say, certainly remains to be seen. And I think the Chiefs have really worked some magic, too, when you think about being able to keep Chris Jones, who's their best defensive player, on a really good defense, and then they add Marquise Brown as a a game-breaking type receiver that obviously you guys know well from Baltimore. Yep. That he adds that deep speed that perhaps they were lacking, and maybe a little more consistency than some of their other receivers who had a lot of drops last year. So the Chiefs won the Super Bowl with a, shall we say, not a terrific wide receiver group, even though Rashee Rice is a good player. So, yeah, I would say that as long as Patrick Mahomes is there and the way he plays in big games, that the Chiefs are still the team to beat, and the Ravens still have a major hill to climb to get over that hump. And yeah, Lamar Jackson won a big playoff game last year against Houston, but then didn't play quite as well in the championship game. So they're not there yet, but I think Derrick Henry could be a guy that will help them in that quest, shall we say, to catch Kansas City.
You brought up the offensive line a minute ago, and to the point, we already know that right now there are 3 starting positions from a year ago that would need to be filled. I have this sort of interesting theory that along the offensive line, the Ravens have used a lot of draft picks on offensive linemen in the last few years, and they have a lot of internal options. Guys like Daniel Faalele and Ben Cleveland and Andrew Voorhees, who everybody thought was going to be a very early pick a year ago had it not been for the injury that he suffered at the Combine. I wonder how an organization handles how much is too much to ask to be handled internally, right? Like, can you give 3 offensive line positions to guys that have never been starters before? Is that too much for a franchise to ask? Do you have to go address it and fill at least one of them with an experienced veteran, because that's simply too much turnover for one offensive line to handle with 3 guys that don't have starting experience?
Yeah, well, and all of a sudden, if the market dries up for a Zeitler and he comes back, then that's certainly a nice return. But that's part of the equation in team building in the NFL, that you just have to replenish, that you have to develop players. And I think one thing that is obvious is that the Ravens have a excellent coaching staff led by John Harbaugh. They know how to develop players. They know how to get them ready to play. And then they've got a quarterback who's got such great escapability that he can make a shaky offensive line look great. And now they got a running back that has that ability too. So I think the Ravens will be just fine, and they'll figure it out. And whether it's through the draft or whether it's through the rest of free agency, I think that oftentimes people overreact to the first week of free agency, and you have to kind of wait till it all plays out. And there are a lot of bargain signings that are going to happen. And I think the Ravens are smart. They'll find a way to get some guys in there that can play, that maybe in this second tier free agency or even third tier free agency. Bill Belichick made a living on that in New England for so many years in signing under the radar free agents and having them come on and help them win Super Bowls, because he had obviously Tom Brady had a great quarterback, and they were a very smart coaching staff. And I think Baltimore's kind of in that type of mode.
So I noticed as we were going over your grades, as much as you like Derrick Henry to the Ravens, one that you graded even higher was Patrick Queen to the Steelers, and you gave an A. And I think part of that is I think a lot of people were surprised by it wasn't the mammoth contract that I think a lot of people believe that Patrick Queen was in line for. Did the Steelers, no pun intended, end up finding a steal in getting Patrick Queen away from the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, I think the reason why I gave it the A was because it was a relative bargain. Not that $13 million a year is a bargain, but Patrick Queen, I'm sure, was trying to get Roquan Smith's $20 million a year and couldn't get there. And so, yeah, I think that it's a great signing for the Steelers, who are making some really good moves in free agency too. And we'll see how Russell Wilson, that whole thing turns out. But I think Patrick Queen's a really good addition. Mike Tomlin's a very smart coach, and we'll figure out how to use him best. He's a really good player. Had a really good season last year. How much of that was due to playing next to Roquan, we'll see when he doesn't have him. But there's plenty of talent on that Steeler defense too. So, and I think the other part of that situation is the best thing in free agency is when you can sign a player from one of your division rivals, because it's really a double whammy. As I've said, you strengthen your team and you weaken one of your major rivals, and so I think we're seeing a lot of that around the league now. When you look at free agency this year, and there are a lot of signings that teams are taking players from division rivals and helping themselves in the process. I think we just saw that with the Vikings signing Aaron Jones after the Packers cut him. And so it's really fascinating when that happens. And as I said, that's something I always love to do as a GM.
Oh, I get it. And certainly a lot of us were stunned that was the route that Patrick Queen was going. Certainly it's well within his right. The Ravens decided to move on. That's the way the business works. Jeff, who's had the best week to you overall from a team standpoint? Whose reality to you has changed the most for the better during the course of the last week?
Well, I think a lot of teams have helped themselves. I look at teams like Carolina that were so downtrodden, and they added a couple of impact guards in Lewis and Hunt for Bryce Young to help protect him. I think they've made some good moves. The Washington Commanders had, I think, the most cap space in the league, and they've been very active in free agency. Have added some really good players. Just think about a guy like Bobby Wagner going there, and teaming up with a Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne. So I think that the Commanders have done some good things. I thought it was kind of a curious move that they traded Sam Howell to Seattle for basically just an upgrade in the middle rounds of the draft when the guy had production last year, but he also led the league in interceptions. But I think that the reason behind that too is they're trying to clear the deck for the rookie quarterback, whoever that's going to be. If it's Jaden Daniels, Drake May, probably not going to be Caleb Williams. And so maybe they just figured we don't really necessarily want Sam Howell here. But I think the Commanders have done some good things with Dan Quinn coming there. And I think a lot of teams have helped themselves. But again, the proof will be when they start playing real games and how these guys adjust, because there's always that concern. And you think about a guy like Eric Armstead going from San Francisco to Jacksonville. Yeah, theoretically, it sounds great that he can help Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker in the pass rush, and the Jaguars needed more impact in the pass rush. But Armstead's been hurt a lot. They're paying him a lot of money, and the fact that again, that's that 30-year-old, 30-something signing in free agency of a guy that has had some injury issues. So there's risk there. But if it pans out the way the Jaguars hope, then yeah, they've really improved themselves. So it's going to be, I think that's part of the fun of free agency. And one thing you got to say is the NFL certainly knows how to stay in the news in the off season.
Yep, they have been kings. There is no question about it this week. It's everything that we've been paying attention to. At Jeff Diamond NFL is how you follow him on Twitter, and you can see all of his free agent grades right now at the 33rd team, and all the moves of the week, not just free agents, but obviously the trades as well. Jeff, is there anything else we can plug for you, sir?
No, I think other than my 33rd team, and it's I also do some work for an agent group and do some college speaking, so that's always fun. So any colleges in the Baltimore, Washington area, I'd love to come and speak. I've done it before at GW, Georgetown, a lot of the schools out that way. So that's always something I enjoy doing as I talk about negotiations and talk about sports business, sports management, which is fun, and just talk about the big moves around the NFL. And we talk kind of in closing, I would say too, you look at a team like the Bears. I think they've done some good things in free agency, and the best move that they made was to trade a fourth-round pick.
I'm so jealous, Jeff.
Pro Bowl receiver, Keenan Allen. What a great move for the Bears if, and that's always a big if, with those 30-something players, if Keenan Allen can stay healthy and team with DJ Moore. Well, the Bears have really improved themselves. They still have to deal Justin Fields if they're going to move him, but I like what Chicago's doing in free agency too. They've got a good tight end in Gerald Everett. and so the Bears are making some good moves too.
It's the one move after seeing the cost that I most wish the Ravens would have made this week. Like for a 4th-round pick for Keenan Allen. My God, that screams Ravens to me. Like, but it's what it is. Jeff, really appreciate it, man. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We'd love to do it again down the road.
Sure, absolutely. We'd love to do it. Take care. All the best.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff Diamond, former NFL GM. Yeah, I don't like harping on the moves that someone didn't make. I don't like obsessing over it because, as Reeta pointed out, well, it's done. There's nothing you can do about it now. Like it's happened. But a 4th-round pick for Keenan Allen? What?
They're brothers.
Right?
They couldn't
throw in a 6th round. Make it a 4th and a 6th. Outbid them. All right. Griffin, can you welcome our guests in, if you don't mind? Zachary, Ryan, and Anna from Atman's Deli are here, and they brought food with them, and I'm excited about that part of this. I'm very, very excited as we're getting ready for St. Patrick's Day on Sunday, and I heard a rumor there might be some corned beef in one of these bags, and that makes me very, very happy. Oh, my. The magic bags. The magic bags are here. Zachary, go ahead. I'll have you have a seat right there, and you'll have that microphone, the green one, right in front of you. And then, Anna, there's a microphone sitting right in front of you as well. If you don't mind holding it, Zachary, you might need to slide that one a little bit closer to you. Have it right in front of you. Zachary and Anna are here from Atman's Harbor Point. I want to start, let's work backwards, because I remember John Colson coming to me one day and saying, hey, did you know they're opening a new Atman's? And I said, I had no idea, but more Atman's doesn't sound like a bad thing to me. Whichever one of you wants to, who wants to give me the background of how we got to this point with the brand new Atman's in Harbor Point?
Well, first off,
Zachary, if I could, you even have that microphone slid even closer to you.
Yeah, first off, I really want to say thank you so much.
And is that bag blocking? I want to make sure everybody can see Zachary Griffin. Is that bag getting in the way? All right. We got it. Very good. Sorry, Zachary. I just want to make sure everybody knows you're here.
I just wanted to say my name is Zachary Wanuga, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for having us here, Glenn. I've looked into your show a lot, and you do a lot of good work for the community, so it's really important what we have you doing out here.
That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, there's a long history behind Atman's, and
yeah, there is.
Anyone who's lived in Baltimore for quite some time knows the name Atman's. I mean, it started back in 1913, where a Russian immigrant came to the United States, and with nothing but a pair of clippers and a comb, where he used to cut hair on the way here.
I don't think I knew this.
Yep,
this is a great.
In order to get some extra pocket change, he cut hair on the way here in order to get that. And 2 years later, he would go on to start a business that would last over a century, and that business is Atman's, and that is the longest it's the longest standing deli that is family owned in America. And Harry Atman is the one who came over and started Atman's, and he established it in 1915, so it's been open for about 110 years in Baltimore. And the story of Atman's is really a story of community and philanthropy, because when Baltimore was at its lowest point, the Atman's family stayed there and worked hard to try to make sure that they can feed the entire city, and feed the entire city they did. So Harry Atman took over Atman's from about 1915 to about 1968, when he transferred the business down to Seymour Atman after his death. And during that time in 1968, but up until that point, Atman started off as just really a grocery. And during 1968, Baltimore was in great decline. I mean, just from 1970 to 1980, we had over 100,000 people leave the city of Baltimore and move up to the suburbs. Businesses were declining, and this was a huge problem because businesses were not making profit margins. But Atman's chose to stay. And the reason Atman's chose to stay is because Seymour took the business model and revamped it after it was passed down to him from Harry Atman. And he revamped it by turning it into a deli.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's when he started up the room where you could come in and come sit, lines all the way out onto the streets. Yep.
Yeah, it's really the true American dream, and I love that about the story, the history.
The passion, by the way, with which you speak about it, like I couldn't help but be moved by it, right? Like,
it's a great story.
I think anybody in this city knows how important Atmans is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but we just know, right? Like, and I mean that. Like, we've grown up here. I'm from here. Atmans has always been a part of my life. Now, I'm not Jewish. But, like, all of my Jewish friends, it's a big part of their life.
That's right. Corned beef touches everyone's
But
palate.
that's the point. The point is, for me, I didn't need to be Jewish. Now, I will admit, I've never had the matzo ball soup, and everybody tells me that, like, it's the best, and I should have the matzo ball soup. Well, that's exciting. I've actually never had the Atmans matzo ball soup. But I promise you that I have had lots of corned beef. And whenever anybody wants corned beef, it's always been the place to go. But I say that to say it's like a part of, it's an institution is the way to say it. Atmans is an institution, but to the passion to which you tell the history of Atmans is beautiful, man. Like, it's beautiful because I don't know it. I just know it's always been a part of our lives here.
Well, many people do know this history, and that's one of the greatest things about working there is because you walk into Atmans Harbor Point and you have history up on the wall.
Yeah.
You walk in and you have the owners telling you history, all right? You walk in and you have our customers coming up and giving their perspective on history, coming up and saying, man, I was here when I was a kid.
Yep.
My mom, my grandma used to bring me here. I get the Diet
Yep.
Dr. Brown soda with the hot corned beef. I'd be on my way. So, yeah, when Harry Atman came here, he came here not only with that comb and with those clippers, but he came here with a hot corned beef recipe that was very cheap at the time. Hot corned beef, very inexpensive to make at the time. He started selling 2 in a brown paper bag for a nickel over on Baltimore Street. And then 1933, they established our East Lombard location.
Yep.
And from there, we went all the way up until Seymour took over in 1968. And then that's when Baltimore was in decline. Atman stayed. Atman stayed and fed all of Baltimore. They started feeding the Ravens before the Ravens game. They started feeding the Orioles. They started feeding Congress every single annually.
I don't think I knew that part of it. I don't think I knew that. That's wild.
Yeah, we are actually in both stadiums. We're in Canada.
Right, I did know that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know it was very exciting for people. Like, it was a very good news for everyone.
Yeah, when you walk into our new location, we definitely try to showcase all of this. The history is very important. We're 109 years in, but 109 years ago, we need to bring that story to light. And when you walk in, it's all over the walls. There's a lot.
That's awesome.
It's so definitely cool. A new take on an old tradition.
So let's get to Harbor Point, right? Like, Anna, so we all know Atmans. And again, when this was presented to me, I was like, well, another Atmans is great. And then John was like, actually, it's even better than that.
Yeah, it's definitely not what you're thinking. If you hear Atmans and you know Lombard, even if you know Potomac is different than our other locations. We have a bar, full service bar. You can get our whole menu there. We have handcrafted cocktails, beers on tap. We even have a house beer. It's a Baltimore Pilsner. It's really
cool.
good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. And then we have a dining room, kibitz room, full service there, and of course our takeout and online. We're on DoorDash, Uber, and Grubhub.
I don't know if this is the way that you want me to say it, but I've been kind of saying it's like Atmans on steroids. Like,
it's,
you know what I mean? Like,
we offer everything, every service.
It's everything that you love about Atmans and more. Like, and we all already love Atmans. Now it's and the bar, and you can hang out and watch the games and continue to spend time there afterwards, which is perfect. And what a cool location in Harbor Point.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
right?
and it's a sports style bar too.
Yeah.
Also kind of like we have outlets at every bar seat. So
that's cool.
And it's a business district.
Wow.
So you come down, work on your laptop, charge your phone, whatever
it's
it is.
Such a small thing, but what a cool thing that is.
No, it's awesome. And I know Zach can attest to this. That neighborhood is booming.
Yeah.
Next couple months, everyone's going to know Harbor Point. Everything's
so
building
cool.
up.
And that was really the goal of Mark Atman to begin with. I mean, after Seymour took over, he revamped it and revitalized it into a deli. Now that Mark took over, this is now the third generation of revitalization of the Atman's business. And yeah, he wanted to move it into a fancier, up-and-coming area so we can really have a hold on all of Baltimore and make sure that, we can continue the mission of feeding this city.
It's awesome. God, that's awesome. All right, so now we get to the, no offense.
Let's get to the good part.
The star of the show. The star of the show are these magical bags that you have brought in the studio this morning. Where do you want me to go first? Like, look, trust me.
Gotta get that matzo ball soup
I have
first.
never tried the matzo ball soup. This is a straight shoot. I have never tried Atman's matzo ball soup in my life. And everyone in my life raves about Atman's matzo ball soup.
So that is our Maryland crab. We have cream of crab as well, Maryland crab, jumbo lump, really good. Again, it's the same menu from our other Atman's, with a little more to it, a little more pizzazz. That is our chicken noodle.
Okay.
Matzo balls in there.
By the way, the soup in general at Atman's, legendary. Like, legendary.
The soup is really good. We got our homemade kettle chips.
Okay, Griffin, we got to make sure we get pictures.
Okay.
Too. I want to make sure that we get. But is that a pickle that I just saw?
Glenn's a big
That is
pickle
a
guy.
pickle.
I am. Everyone
It's
knows.
a kosher dough.
Everyone knows, and I've never gone to Atman's without getting a pickle for the record.
Yes, in our Atman's at Harbor Point, we have a complimentary pickle bar for.
I
everyone that
heard
comes
about
in.
that.
Yes.
And I said
How come we
I
not
might
mentioned that
move in.
earlier?
Yes.
Like I might move in the moment that I heard those words. It's the most exciting sentence that anyone has ever
You
said
should
in
see
my
people's faces when you tell them, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, our pickle ball's right over there.
pickle
Like,
bar.
Yeah, we got
What?
more than pickles too. We got a lot. We got like pickled tomatoes. Was it the cherry peppers? I'm gonna warn everyone right now.
You don't, Anna. You don't understand. Like it's actually dangerous for me.
Well,
like,
you're in
this
luck.
Sets up
We
to
play with fire, and we got the
Oh,
pickle plate
look
today.
at that! Look at this, Griffin. This is really all. This is the funny part. Is that, like I want to try everything else, but like I could just this alone. Look at all of this. The olives. Oh my God. I eat it.
Yeah,
What kind of-
those I
what
would
kind
say
of-
take a small
what
bite
kind
at
of pepper?
first.
Yeah, what
They're
kind-
hot cherry peppers. They're really good, but you gotta go slow. And then our Atman's mustard. Everyone knows about the deli mustard. Really good. This is
That's
our
so good.
Constellation Club.
Tell me about it. I don't think I've ever had a
So it's a
Constellation
triple
Club.
decker. It's on rye. It has ham, turkey, tomato, lettuce, and Swiss cheese. And then this is our 4-hour St. Patty's weekend only. We have corned beef egg rolls.
Done.
Oh.
Done.
And
Done. Say no
depending
more.
if everyone likes
Say
them,
no
they might
more.
be on the menu.
Say no more, Griffin. We're trying. This is where we're going.
With side of Russian dressing.
This is boy. All right, hang on a second. So tell me about the corned beef egg rolls. Just
Corned beef egg rolls. They have sauerkraut in them, slaw, and corned beef. That's all you need.
get some Russian
The
dressing.
side of Russian.
All right, we'll try them at the same time. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Quick
I'm
one-bite
so,
taste
I'm
test.
so excited about this. You have no idea how excited. All right, here we go. Ah! Wow, that's so good. That's unbelievable.
I'm glad.
That's
I'm
incredible.
glad. You got to come out for St.
You-
Patty's weekend.
Stop
then.
it. These have to stay on the menu. These have to stay on the menu.
I'll definitely put the word in.
And this is perfect. First of all, anybody that's ever... Colson, get in here. Get in here. Try a corned beef egg roll. Yell at him. Colson, come try a corned beef egg roll.
You know what else
Yeah.
just happened?
What?
They're adding goose flights.
Oh, my gosh. As if it could get any better.
It's what happens when you leave the sales department alone with the manager.
Yeah. Goose Flights Lager set to be available at Atman's Harbor Point.
Probably
That's
right
unbelievable.
in a few days or whatever.
Oh my gosh! On top of everything else, that's incredible. Try,
Oh my
Get
God.
some. You put a little Russian dressing on that. Dip a little. Yeah. Tell me about how good your life is. All right, that's a 10.5. Now, first of all, that doesn't surprise me because everybody knows the corned beef at Atman's is the best in town. So nothing about this surprises me. This is just what we call a really good idea that can never go away. And it works as a perfect bar food, right? Like with the bar, this is a perfect bar food item to have, to me, not just for St. Patrick's Day, but at all times. What?
And then get this.
What is
These
that?
are the Reuben fries.
Reuben fries?
They are also a very good bar snack.
Oh, my.
Corned beef and slaw on top of Western fries.
Oh.
Yeah, we also
Yep,
dump a
yep.
little bit of Russian dressing on it as well.
Russian
Mm-hmm.
dressing. Do we have forks?
No, I don't care. We don't need forks. We're all friends here. It's just gonna waste time. It's just no offense. It's just gonna waste time for that
No,
food.
you're good.
Could be in our mouths. That's brilliant. Like this is again when we talk about like the idea of the next evolution of Atman's, the idea of taking
my
things.
God.
All right, don't rub it in. I haven't tried one yet.
No, you'll get it.
Taking things that we all know that you do so well and then making them more of bar-centric and that type of experience. This is brilliant.
Fried pickles. I never mentioned the fried pickles. How could I forget?
Y'all.
No, you bring up
Y'all.
a good point though, Glenn. Is that's one of the things is that everybody loves us for our food, so why not have a better atmosphere? We
this
call it
is
the atmosphere.
the-
why not
and
have a
the-
better
the
atmosphere to
hangout
enjoy
aspect of it, right? Like the idea of we want you, Atmans is always a friendly place to be. Like, everybody's always associated Atmans with a very friendly neighborhood. But the idea of come spend the evening here, come hang out and watch the game, come hang out, it's perfect. All right, hang on a second. Yeah, we have plenty of food. We have tell her to come get an egg roll. Tell her to come get, because there's only one of those left.
These are pastrami's, corned beef.
Stop it. Stop it. I know how good those are. I've had plenty of those. Plenty of those over the years. I probably had 1 million. Look at that. Stop. It's brilliant. Leah, where's the other egg roll? We need to give Leah the last egg roll. Here it is. Leah, come get this egg roll. This corned beef egg roll. Tell me how great that is. That one's yours. Here, you need some Russian dressing. Do it.
No, I don't do Russian.
Oh, come on, Leah.
Come on, Leah.
It's a corned beef egg roll.
It'll be good like that.
You're in Rome, Leah. Come on.
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, man. All right. Yeah, this is pretty good. It's Atman's corned beef and an egg roll. How could it be bad? Leah says it's pretty good. Pretty good. It's the understatement of the century. We got plenty more for you. All right. What all? Let's get the promote. What's the call to action? The call to action is we want everybody to check out, obviously, the new Atmans in Harbor Point. AtmansDeli.com, I know, is the website, but specifically for St. Patrick's Day weekend, you mentioned the corned beef egg rolls. What else is going on this weekend for people that want to get their corned beef on?
Definitely bangers and mash. If you're not a corned beef person, we have more St. Patty's Irish options. It is sausages with
how much
black peppercorn gravy and peas and homemade mashed potatoes.
You know how much I love bangers and mash.
It just melts in your mouth.
It is really good because even our featured specials are really good.
Like, who doesn't love corned beef and cabbage, right? Like, corned beef and cabbage is perfect. But I am a man who on St. Patrick's Day requests from Mrs. Clark bangers and mash every year.
We hit the mark.
That's my go-to. I need a fork, Griffin. I need a fork more than I need air to breathe. Like, no offense to the air and water and all the needs that we have, but there is nothing that I have needed more in my life than I need a fork at this moment. Thank you. Thank you. I apologize to everybody who's just sitting here watching us eat, but you know what? You could go to Atman's Harbor Point, and then you'd be eating too right now.
Exactly. We got live music on Saturday the 16th, 7 p.m. to midnight, kitchen open until midnight. We have a special St. Patty's Day weekend, of course, with our classics on the menu, and some added goodies, of course.
I feel like the other thing, too, is that, like, once Orioles season gets underway, it's the place to go before and after games, and while the Orioles on the road, the place now to go during games to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely.
At Atman's Harbor Point. Like, this is now part of your life moving forward. This is the way it's going to be.
100%. Not only that, we just signed a contract to be at the Orioles stadiums from now on. So
what specifically is going to be available at the stadium? I know corned beef is going to be available. Do you know what else is going to be available at the stadium?
Corned beef, pastrami, the oven roasted turkey, which is the juiciest turkey I've ever had personally.
All right.
It's really good.
All right, I'm getting a little bit bangers and mash.
Dr. Brown's, of course.
What is the story on? I've never asked this before. What's the story on Dr. Brown's? What's the history of that?
Mainly, it's just been around for a very long time, and that's been our dine-in soda for the longest time.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, like I said.
It's in a lot of Jewish delis, definitely New York. In New York and New York based.
All right. This goes back to me not being Jewish, that I don't know the history. I'm just like, I've just associated with you guys for forever, and so I've never asked questions. All right, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Griffin, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's unbelievable. Oh, my gosh.
Evil laughter.
Oh,
there's I don't know who's scheduled for the rest of the show. Sorry, tell them we're not doing it. That's why I'm spending my day. That's unbelievable. Is this really also only for the weekend, or is this?
That is only for the weekend, although it was a really big hit and it's really good. So I will personally be advocating for it to come back.
Let me tell you, there are so many people that attempt to do bangers and mash, and it's just. Like, they don't know, it's too gloopy. Like, they put gravy on, but, like, they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand how you're supposed to compliment. It's
all about balance.
And the peas. I'm not even a big, most people say, like, okay, peas are fine, but nobody's a big fan of the peas. The peas add something. the bangers and. Oh.
It's the gravy too. The gravy's really good. We got a really good country style gravy on our chicken waffles.
I could just die right now. Like, I don't know that I'm ever going to be this happy again in my life. Like, look at this. Look at the bounty that's sitting in front of me. It's all for me. Sorry, nobody else gets any. All right, atmansdeli.com. Atmans in Harbor Point.
Atmans Harbor Point, Instagram,
Of
Facebook.
course, we still love the original Atmans. It's not like we don't love that one, but it's time to go check out the new Atmans, see what it is that you're missing, and see how this is going to be a part of your life moving forward, and how blown away you're going to be.
Come in and enjoy the atmosphere.
The atmosphere.
Yep.
Zachary,
Yes.
Anna, thank you is not going to cut it. I feel like I owe you my firstborn. Like, that's what I feel like I owe you.
You just owe us a visit down at Harbor Point.
There's going to be a bunch of visits is the way that it's going to go. There's going to be a bunch of visits coming up. I cannot thank you enough. I really don't know how I'm going to continue to do the show. This is going to be the most uncomfortable show in the history of humanity. I'm truly grateful, and I can't wait to see you guys at Atman's Deli in Harbor Point very soon.
Thank you so much for having us.
Zachary and Anna from Atman's Harbor Point. Can we grab a break? Yes, good, because we're going to need it. We're going to take a break. We're going to head down to Sarasota, find out the latest on the Orioles from Luke Jackson next. This is Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Nope. Nope, sorry,
We're
not
back.
ready. No. All right. All right, let me. Oh, okay. I'm going to run through this. So I'm not ready to do the show again. I'm just not. I'm still. I don't know that I'm going to be ready to. Okay, let me run down. Atman's Harbor Point this weekend. Tomorrow, big day. Big day. Kitchen will be open until midnight. $5 Guinness drafts. Yes. Plus, the Jolly Rancher Crush, the Irish Mule, the Midori Margarita, the Irish Car Bomb, the Shamrock Mimosa, and the Atman's Pickle Teeny. Dude, I'm going to need to rearrange my schedule tomorrow. I have to try that. Live music from 7 to midnight from Rebel Radio. And then a feature menu, of course, the corned beef and the corned beef Reubens, the corned beef egg rolls that we got to try, these Reuben fries, wing samplers, trio of smash burgers for $13, the Jack Daniel's pulled chicken sliders, and the crab cake sliders, all available this weekend at Atman's Harbor Point for celebrating St. Patrick's Day. And I seriously am overwhelmed by what I'm looking at. I don't even eat fries. I want more
Reuben fries.
Of the
Reuben fries.
I'm telling you, this is
genius.
And they could have just bought if they had just brought the pickle tray and nothing else, I'd be the happiest I've ever been in my life. You know this isn't shtick. Like, just the pickle tray, I would say it's the greatest day I've ever had. This is insane. This is truly insane. I don't know what to do with all of this, and I don't know how I can be expected. Yeah, look at that. All right, we're going to attempt to function. I make no promises.
Ready to move on, or
if we must.
I mean, I guess we could just end everything.
Colson, come take some more of this food away from me.
No, I want.
Well, I mean, just you can put it over there. I'm not saying take it away in general.
Oh, I see.
Like, just so it's not in front of me. My God, this is. You know what? There is a God. Like, that's what I've learned. Very, very good day to be Glenn Clark. That's all I can say. It's a very, very good day. All right. We are going to head down to Sarasota. And we are going to last night was the spring breakout game for the Orioles and the Pirates. And I think we have to start wondering about Jackson Holliday. Guy might be a bust. Now 0 for 2 in his career against Paul Skeens. I don't know. This guy, he might not be able to get the job done. I don't have to say it too loudly, but we might have enough evidence to know. Our buddy Luke Jackson, editor-in-chief here at PressBox, has been down in Sarasota this week. Let's check in with him, see what it is that he has seen and heard around Orioles spring training. Luke, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Well, Atman's Deli just brought me some food, so I'm really good, Luke. And no offense, I'm kind of, you're distracting me from diving more into the bangers and mash that are sitting in front of me. So I love you, but I kind of hate you in the moment right now. I hope you understand that.
Well, I apologize for that.
Yeah, thank you for taking accountability. That's what I expect around here. All right, since you've been down there, give me an observation, something that just in the time you've been there has really come to light for you more than just the previously held opinion that you had before you arrived in Sarasota.
Well, Paul Skeens is really good.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
I have never heard a glove pop in the minor leagues. In a minor league park, I should say, quite like when Paul Skeens was going to work last night. That was a lot of fun to watch. More along the lines of what you're thinking, you know who looks crisp? And I didn't expect this. Keegan Aiken looked crisp the other night. And so suddenly I'm sort of thinking that he might be part of the bullpen picture, and I didn't expect that coming in. So there's one thing for you that I did not expect coming into this week.
All right, let's cover a few things. You know, obviously you joke about Paul Skeens, and I was joking about Jackson Holliday now being 0 for 2 against Paul Skeens, and so it might be proof that he's a bust. But clearly all of the attention last night and the spring breakout game being on TV was about Paul Skeens and Jackson Holliday again. We don't really care all that much about Paul Skeens, so let's talk more about Jackson Holliday. You read what I wrote over the weekend. Where are you at with whatever decision there may be to be made about Jackson Holliday for the Baltimore Orioles?
Well, I think there's a better than 50-50 shot that he's going to be the regular second baseman to start the season. And I don't know if we have to get into all of the machinations in terms of like the CBA ramifications, all that. That's sort of been well discussed. But and for me, what they're probably discussing is, like, if we send him down, like, how long is he, like, basically ready? Meaning that if he's 95% ready, do we want to just bring him up to the major leagues to start the year? And, like, and if we don't do that, what are we trying to do at second base? Hold on, I'm trying to get away from some noise here. I apologize for that. I'm sort of where you are on this. We saw him at second base the other day, and made a couple really nice plays. One was a short hop to his left, and the other one was a really nice turn of a double play. So he can play second base. Can he get better? Sure, because he just hasn't done it a lot, and he played shortstop in the breakout game yesterday. But I think he's going to be fine there. He's going to hit. I don't know how much he's going to hit, in the first half as a rookie. We saw Gunnar Henderson struggle a little bit in the first half as a rookie. We saw Adley Rutschman struggle for about a month as a rookie. So, but he's got the makeup to handle it. I think he's going to break camp as the regular second baseman, and maybe he doesn't play every single day where –
well, they're going to need somewhere for – Jorge Mateo is going to play against lefties, so they're going to need somewhere for Jorge Mateo to play.
Stan and I were talking about that yesterday, that Brandon Hyde's going to find a way to get Jorge Mateo into games against lefties. There's no question about it.
Yep.
And he played second base against the Pirates yesterday. We've seen him play a little center field. With the problems that Mullins has had with his lower half since about Memorial Day of last year, I don't know if you want to necessarily play him every single day. And when he gets some nights off, it's going to probably be against lefties as well. Mateo is an option out there, perhaps. We'll see how he does in center field defensively. So, and who knows? Like, at the end of camp, they might bring another veteran infielder who hits from the right side, who could maybe be like a little caddy for Holliday, at least to start the year, as you ease him into everyday action in the major leagues, and then hopefully fully take off the reins when his performance dictates it.
I know that you didn't want to go too far into it, but I keep coming back to, like, I can't. To me, the biggest part of the story is the PPI program. Like, it screams at me, because once upon a time this would have never happened, right? Like, once upon a time they would do everything in their power. Jackson Holliday could be hitting 600 in spring training, and he wouldn't be on the major league roster on opening day. But it really does come off like it would be insane to not put him on the major league roster, because if you're going to wait a month and he comes up and he's rookie of the year, all you did was cost yourself a draft pick when he's going to earn that year back anyway of service time. Like, it would be to me, it's reckless if they don't put him on. Like, the rules have gone from there's no way to me, there's no way you can't put him on the opening day roster.
Right. And we sort of saw that have seen that happen with Adley Rutschman before, where they wanted to have him on the opening day roster to start the 22 season. He got hurt, and then he ended up having to basically do spring training on a minor league rehab assignment. So he was in the minor league for like 3 or 4 weeks. Then he came up in late May. He finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting, and because of that, he got the service time. And who knows, if he had started the year with the Orioles and he was healthy and all that, maybe he wins Rookie of the Year and the Orioles get a pick. You don't necessarily want that to happen again. That's why I said if Jackson Holliday is like 95% ready, I think that he breaks, and I do think that he is. I think he breaks camp with the team. But if you are truly of the mind that he needs like 2 or 3 months in AAA, then send him down. But I just don't think that they're there with him. I think he's pretty much ready. I think that they'll. And look, big development happens at the big league level too.
100%. And as was pointed out well by Tim Kirkshin last week, like, if you have to send somebody down, you have to send somebody down. Like, Alex Rodriguez got sent down once. Like, great players have been sent down because they weren't ready at the beginning of the. We thought that Gunnar Henderson might only be another couple of days away from having to be sent down at one point last year. Luke Jackson is with us from down in Sarasota at Orioles Spring Training. He is brought to you by Atman's Deli, which, again, I'm staring at right now, and I want the show to be over with so I can dive more into atmansdeli.com. Luke, a couple of the other thoughts that I think have been prominent coming out of camp. Where are you with the need like seeing you bring up Keegan Aiken. You and I talked last week about my bullpen concerns. Have they been calmed at all by being down there? Do you find yourself saying, look, I think they're going to be okay at least for a little while, or do you still feel strongly about the bullpen being a problem?
I don't know if I ever felt like it was a problem, just because where I am with bullpens is that you could have the best-looking bullpen going into spring training. You could have the best-looking bullpen coming out of spring training, and you just don't know how it's going to shake out, because that's how relievers roll.
Yep.
Because they're so volatile, and I just don't know if you can ever have, like, if you can ever be sure that a great-looking bullpen is going to perform great. That's just the nature of it. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And like reliever and bullpens sort of take on a mind of their own as the season goes along. So I have no idea how the bullpen is going to perform this year. I think that Danny Kloom's going to be pretty reliable. I think that Craig Kimbrell will probably be fine, as long as they don't view him at this point of his career as like a surefire 3 games and 4 nights kind of dude. I think, but on the other hand, like Yennier Cano is coming off a career high, obviously, in major league innings. How does he bounce back from that? They've sort of slow played him at this point in spring. And I mean, consider this. I mean, they picked up Danny Kloom like 2 or 3 days before opening day. Does Mike Elias have another one of those up his sleeve? I don't know. Would I like to have DL Hall in that bullpen? Sure, but then you don't have Corbin Burns. So I think they're probably okay right now, and obviously they have the system to make a move at really any point of the season if they want to fortify that bullpen. But there's no question about it. They're going to be down the best reliever in baseball. That's going to be an issue. Like that's going to pose some challenges that perhaps didn't present themselves late last year, because in September it just seemed like they either won by a lot or they lost in a way that they wouldn't have needed Felix Bautista in that game anyway. So I don't know if and then obviously they wouldn't have really needed Felix unfortunately, I should say, in the ALDS. So I don't know if we've fully seen the impact of losing Felix Bautista. So
right.
The short answer to what I just said is I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. I guess let's go to the start, because I know Cole Irvin had a rough start, and Julio Teheran looked awful the other day. I mean, just looked miserable on Monday against the Yankees. I obviously Cole Irvin's going to be in the rotation, and we've seen some good from Cole Irvin, and maybe everything figures its way out. And again, he's only expected to be the 5th starter. He's not expected to be an ace. But Dylan Cease is off the board. Presumably some of these other guys. I got to imagine the Yankees are going to sign somebody with Garrett Cole being down for a couple of months. Like, where are you in the Orioles' backup plans as far as their rotation is concerned at this point?
The backup plans, well, Tyler Wells is also going to be in this rotation. There's no doubt about that. You mentioned Cole Irvin. And Tyler Wells looks really good down here. And the key for me with Wells is just going to be how can you lay out his season so that he makes it through to the finish line, right? And so can you be proactive? Stan wrote about this. Can you be proactive in a way where maybe you skip a start here or there with him? Can you be proactive in a way where you, maybe just say you're going to go 4 or 5 innings today and that's that, and to try to get him to that finish line, because he is way too good of a starting pitcher to break down in July, which he has done the past couple of years. He's just way too good for that. And you would love to get him to a point where he can give you 150, 160 innings this year, because he's really good. You want him to be able to do that. So I wonder how proactive they can be with that. And the other thing is that we also saw Kate Povich yesterday in the prospect game. He got better as the outing went along, landed some really nice curveballs as the outing went along, and perhaps he can be an option for them in the second half once they build up his workload a little bit. I don't know about Seth Johnson. That's a little aggressive at this point, just because he's coming off of Tommy John, and then we'll see about Chase McDermott as well. You mentioned that the 2 big free agent arms are still out there, Montgomery and Snell. Also, Mike Clevenger's out there. and Michael Lorenzen is out there as well. I don't know if the Orioles are going to be in on either of those guys because it's just at this point, if you sign a starter, I don't know when exactly you're getting them in the season. And sometimes with those free agent arms at this point in the season, it just like they rush to get ready, and it can be a little bit of an issue.
Well, and clearly you're still hoping that John Means is going to be part of this story, and they have yet to rule out Kyle Bradish, although none of us feel like that's plausible, but we still have to at least acknowledge it as we have the conversations. Luke, I know you wrote about Danny Coulombe at PressBoxOnline.com. You got anything else coming in the next day or two?
Well, not over the weekend. I will probably gather up some more stuff over this weekend, and then once we get to next week, I'll have hope several more stories leading into opening day from my time here at Sarasota. I'm working on something on Jordan Westberg, working on something on Kobe Mayo, working on something on Dylan Tate. So hopefully we'll have all those on the site before opening day, sort of spread them out a little bit.
All right, very good. Luke Jackson, PressBoxOnline.com. Enjoy the rest of the trip down there. Safe travels back, pal, all right?
All right, you bet.
It's Luke Jackson. By the way, whenever you hear somebody talk about how it's windy in Sarasota, I think you got your how windy is it? I think you heard right there just exactly how windy it is in Sarasota, and why, like, when you look at home runs, sometimes you have to remember that there's a wind factor in Sarasota that has something to do with that. All right, you have the sheet. I don't remember what more I have to talk about, so you're going to have to tell me.
The other restaurant that we like to stop at.
Well, yes, do again. We don't have to play favorites because we do also love Ruth's Chris. And whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver to you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steak since 1965. You can make your reservation now at ruthschris.com. I can't help myself. Like, this is... I know white people love saying that food is dangerous. It's just something that that's dangerous.
I mean...
And everybody else is just like, dude, just eat the sandwich. Like, what are you doing?
This would be the definition of that.
This imagine being surrounded.
I don't like the pickle tray being next to you because it means I'm probably not gonna get any more pickles.
You might never see. I'm not an olive person, so if you like the olives, you may have them.
Are there olive people?
There are olive people. There are people that I'm telling you will eat olives like they're candy. These sweet onions. Oh boy. I would not recommend making out with me later.
Darn it! What?
Sorry, pal.
What am I gonna do?
Sorry, buddy. I mean, like, necking, fine, but there's no making out. Those sweet onions are where it's at, man. I'm telling you, this tray alone. Although those fries are a problem. Like, they really are a problem. They keep staring at. I don't care. You judge me? Go ahead, judge me. Judge me. Look at that. Look at. Oh, okay. All right, it's fine. I can still put it back together with the slaw and the Russian dressing. Leah saying she does no Russian dressing. What are you doing? Who are you?
My gosh. I mean, this is unbelievable.
This might be the happiest I've ever been. I got to think about that. When have I been happier? Like
birth of your children?
Yeah, that was okay.
That was okay.
There's a lot of blood.
Okay. Yeah, it knocks it down. Certainly knocks it down.
Like, they don't prep you for that in baby class, by the way. Like, you take those. You got to every time my sister, they have a child coming. I'm going to be an uncle for the first time.
Oh, congrats.
I mean, I'm excited for them. It's not really about me.
You're going to be an uncle. Uncle Glenn.
There's a part of me that was like, man, I don't have to worry about babies ever for a long time. And then they were like, oh, we're going to have one. I'm like, you jerks. I was out of babies. I was gone from that area. But, like, I was talking to my brother-in-law, and I was having that conversation. I'm like, dude, they do not prepare you. If you go to the baby class, it is helpful. But they are not going to prepare you for what you're going to be looking at in that room. Like, they do not. Nothing prepares you for that. So it did. I was happy, obviously.
You were more.
But there was a lot going on in that moment.
Okay.
Today, it's just unbridled joy. Just unbridled. I'm not looking at a murder scene while I'm trying to enjoy this delicious food. Anything else that you think?
For you now. Yeah, that's probably it.
Like when the Orioles win a World Series, because I was only a month old when they won the last one, like that'll mean something to me. I had unbridled.
Yeah, the Ravens.
Like the first Ravens Super Bowl. The second one I had to work, right? So it wasn't as unbridled as like because I had to.
It would have been unbridled if
I'm so happy about it, but I had the job to do. I couldn't just go like celebrate. I had to work. I had, actual. Believe it or not, like when we do these things, we work. So it limited how unbridled. But the first one, yeah, like we banged pots and pans and ran down the street at my friend's house and acted like went streaking. We were idiots. We were not quite legally adults, so we didn't think we were going to go to jail. 17, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was 17. So that one was a little unbridled. Maryland basketball, when they won the national championship, that was unbridled. I was on frat row that night. I don't like saying this out loud, but people were passing things to put on a fire, and I was going right ahead. This looks like a desk chair. Somebody might need this.
Yeah, but you won a national
championship. Going on the fire.
I think.
Yep. That's the way that it was that
sure
night.
Because of the situation, the statute of limitations.
Oh, there were a lot of people that woke up the next day like, what did we do last night? Like, they made some terrible decisions.
You think maybe this is Maryland's big plan, though? They don't ever want that.
Oh, that's why they decided they're not going to be as good at basketball anymore.
Like,
they don't want anybody ruining their. Yeah.
We can't have.
Yeah, that's true. It's
a big celebration like that.
That's a good point, Griffin. They might have something to do with it. I'm glad you brought that up. Still, I don't know that I've ever had as much unbridled joy as I'm having in the moment. And you're going to be able to get goose flights.
Ugh.
On top of everything else. Atman's Harbor Point will have Goose Flights Lager available this week. That's so exciting. Goose Flights is a delicious lager. It's an easy drinking beer, and more importantly, it goes to benefit the Goose Flights Foundation. As $1.98 from every can sold, it goes to benefit the work that they are doing to provide non-emergency medical transport for those in need. PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights to find out all of the many locations where Goose Flights is available. All right, we have anything else we need to cover? We want to go ahead and get a tidbit.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, it gets us closer to eating. Yeah. Tidbit is brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Championship weekend in high school basketball, and you can check out the entire rundown as well as final scores if you can't watch the games live on NFHS Network. You can get all that information this weekend at countysports.zone, brought to you by Toyota.
I mean, I did want to say I think I'm leaning more towards the O-line. I have more concern on that than the edge rush.
Talk me through it.
Just because I feel like we do this song and dance with the edge rush every single year.
Yeah,
they sign a guy.
I think you guys have convinced yourself.
On it, and
I think a lot of people. I think this is one thing.
They can scheme up pass rush. And O-line, I'm afraid that we're going to undervalue, how big of a role Moses and Zeitler and Simpson, just as the being veterans in the room. And we're going to replace that with all of these unproven guys.
Yeah, that part of it doesn't. I'm not as concerned about the veterans in the room part of it. Like, here's what I would say. I think that we have absolutely created a new reality where because last year worked out so well, we just have the belief that, like, once upon a time, we did this at wide receiver where, like, somebody would say, well, you know how the Ravens are. They're always finding these guys in August. I'm like, who have they found in August? They've signed somebody in August. But tell me who was a slam dunk that TJ Hushmanzada? Kelly Washington? Like, who's the late wide receiver signing that was a slam dunk for the Ravens? But we just got so accustomed to them doing it that we convinced ourselves of it. Obviously, Jadeveon Clowney worked out incredibly well a year ago. Justin Houston's second year in Baltimore was very productive, but the first year when they added Justin Houston, he was not very productive. He was not very helpful. I'm not trying to say that that means they can't do it. Of course they could. But I think having comfort in it is misplaced based on just how well it went a year ago. And I got into this conversation, Dev Panchwa from Russell Street Report brought that up. Like, well, that wasn't luck. That was about, finding the right guy that fits the scheme. Okay, if that guy is available. And again, we know less about what Zach Orr's defense will be.
Right.
Then it's also if the second part that you bring up, if Mike McDonald was still here, I might have more of an inclination to say I have trust that he'll figure it out. Maybe Zach Orr will prove to be that guy as well, but I don't know that yet. And so I don't have that faith. I just don't. I hope if they don't prioritize it, that they do figure out a way to make it work, but I don't have nearly the same faith, and it's been too much of a problem, and to me can be the singular. You talk about actually closing the gap on Patrick Mahomes. The one time the Ravens beat Patrick Mahomes, it was because someone made a play, ironically a guy that's still on the roster, someone made a play in order to get the ball out at the end of the game. That's the one time that they beat Patrick Mahomes ever. I uniquely for beating Patrick Mahomes believe that you need to be better and it needs to be a priority. I agree about, like the totality of it. It's not like I don't think the offensive line is a concern. It's that to me, the history of the Ravens suggests they have a pretty good track record of the guys that they drafted almost always become at least capable players. A lot of them become even more than that. But like the litany of this, the Ryan Jensens of the world, the Rick Wagners of the world, I guess Hurst was not a high, but Hurst was still helpful. Like Hurst was still, he wasn't Patrick McCary, but he was a little bit closer to that in the ability that he had to play multiple positions. The Ravens have a history of Patrick McCary obviously being on that list of that. I have more of a faith that the guys they've drafted are NFL caliber offensive linemen.
And maybe I'm looking more at, the tech, because I just don't have a ton of faith in Stanley right now.
I understand.
Faalele is not, he has not been a regular starter. And
yeah, but he played well.
And maybe you're looking at the Chiefs, and maybe I'm looking at it too micro. I'm looking at the AFC North, and they're going to see T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, each of those guys twice a year. And our offensive tackles, I have a little low in confidence right now.
I mean, look, I will defend to the death. You're right to be wrong. No, I get it. It's not. I don't think it's insane. It's just it's a gut feeling for me. It's the way that I see the two things. So there you go. Now tidbit.
Toledo have won the MAC. They've won 4 straight regular season MAC titles.
Who knew?
Yeah.
How about that?
You wouldn't know because they have not reached the NCAA tournament in that span.
That's disappointing.
They have lost in
that's a real bummer.
The MAC tournament 4 straight years. They are the first team, the first Division I team to win 4 straight outright conference titles. That's a regular season title without an NCAA tournament appearance since since the NCAA started accepting bids mandatory in 1971. So yeah.
How about that?
Your boy from NC. Well, actually, this is one of your other NC State boys, Mohamed Diarra.
Yeah,
the other big man.
He's good too.
Yeah,
but not DJ Burns. DJ Burns is the dude.
Well, he did something that has only happened once in the last 20 years in college basketball. He had 16 rebounds.
I'm not an NC State fan. I was an NC State fan yesterday. No longer an NC State fan.
Is it UNC NC State tonight, or is it
Pitt UNC tonight?
Oh, okay. So
it's
Virginia,
NC State, Virginia. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess they can all lose.
Boy, ACC really is kind of like a meh league, isn't it?
Yeah. He had 16 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 3 steals.
We need rooting interest, so Bub Carrington at Pitt, we can root for him.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
we can do that.
Yeah,
I'm a Pitt guy now. But that requires me to make the Pittsburgh people are happy. I don't like that.
Yeah, but it's not like they're still Pitt basketball fans. They're not that.
Yeah, they're probably that's a good point. It's still those people probably root for the Steelers.
It's like
they
when
probably
Steve
root
Pierce
for the
won
Steelers
the World Series
too.
with the Red Sox.
No, I did not. I felt nothing of it. But it's different. I don't hate Pitt basketball. I just don't want Steelers fans to ever have joy. Like that's the difficult part that I had. Like when Butler nearly beat Duke in the championship game, I remember having this conversation. Like obviously we wanted Butler to win, but then Colts fans are going to be happy too. Like it wasn't unbridled in that way. Like it's not an unbridled rooting. Like I want Bub Carrington to perform well because I like him and St. Francis guy, the whole thing, but it's measured.
Mo Diarra is the only player in the last 20 or the second player in the last 20 years to have 16 rebounds, 4 blocks, 3 steals against a top 25 opponent in a win. He's the second player in the last 20 years. Any idea who the other would be?
Sure.
He's a great player.
In the last 25 years, you said?
Yes.
Steph.
No. 16 rebounds, 4 blocks.
Oh, 16 rebounds. Jesus,
yeah.
What am I talking about? Sorry. 16 rebounds.
They did it in the national championship in 2012.
Anthony Davis?
Anthony Davis, yeah, and their win over Kansas. Anthony Davis is the only other time someone's accomplished this. And then finally, with Dylan Cease going to going from San Diego. Sorry,
no, he's going to San Diego.
San Diego. It's not the Yankees. That's all. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we wanted. He has the most.
I would have liked Dylan Cease.
He has the most swings and misses since the start of 2021. I want you to round out the top 3 for me, nice and quick.
Oh, I forgot that Jeff Capel's the coach at Pitt, too. Brian Powell just reminded me of that. I'm not rooting for them. I'll just acknowledge my happiness for Bub Carrington.
So he has the most swings and misses. There are 3 guys with 1,400 swings and misses.
All time.
Since 2021.
Sorry,
since the
since
start
2021.
3 pitchers.
I hope Corbin Burns is one of them.
Corbin Burns is 3rd on the list. 1,407. He would be 30 swings and misses behind Cease. Number 2 on the list.
Spencer Strider.
Not Spencer Strider. Did he? I think he didn't come up until 2022. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's true. How about Garrett Cole?
Garrett Cole's number 2. Cease, Cole, Burns. Those are the 3 with 1,400 swings.
Pretty good company. Pretty good company.
Sarah Langs on Twitter.
Okay, very good. Tubular, which is going to be busy, is brought to you by Superbook. And again, we are looking at, let's look at, what do you think Maryland's chances of winning the NCAA Women's Championship? Oh,
okay.
They don't even make the list. Never mind.
All right, well, then I'll take them.
Sorry, they're not, well, you can. They're not on the list yet. They will be once they're announced in the field, but I guess that's their way of, I mean, Maryland's going to be in the field. They made it. They beat Ohio State. That's all they need to do. They're going to be in the field, but they're not yet. You can't quite get odds on it just yet, which is a shame. Because, they're not going to win the national. Who am I kidding? They're not winning the national championship. But you can bet any other NCAA tournament future that you want to bet right now. Even some Final Four odds are up. How's our boy Van Ruin doing? How's that going?
I'll let you know.
Bet my house on Van Ruin.
That's his name, Adam Van Ruin?
Eric Van Ruin. Eric Van Ruin.
How do I spell Ruin?
I don't know, but just search Eric. E-R-I-K, I believe it's Eric. And you should be able to come up with it.
Eric, R-O-O-Y-E-N.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I think that's right. How's he doing?
Let's see. Eric Van Ruin, and he is tied for 57th, baby.
Ooh, boy.
He is 1 under.
That's good, but that doesn't seem like it's going to...
Yeah, Matthew Fitzpatrick is leading the...
cut line projected at -1 right now.
Okay, so your boy will not... Van Ruin will at least
started playing yet. He hasn't played his round today.
Well, he's
he gets to go post a 5 under, and he's good. Settle down, you. By the way, where are you seeing? I got Wyndham Clark leading at 11 under par.
What are you looking at? I'm looking at the players.
Yeah, I'm looking right now at PGAtour.com/leaderboard. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at Matthew Fitzpatrick. I guess I'm looking
at... I got Wyndham Clark at 11 under par through 12 holes. Then something called Matty Schmid, whatever that is, at 9 under with JT Poston and Scotty Scheffler. Yes.
I guess Google is wrong.
Maybe you look at the official one. Maybe that's the best way to go about doing these types of things.
Google is typically not wrong.
Yeah, maybe you're wrong about Eric Van Ruin too. Hey, I should
right,
double check on that and find out that Eric Van Ruin's winning the tournament.
I don't think he is.
Eric Van Ruin, no, he hasn't started yet. He's 1 under and he doesn't play until.
Okay, so they got that right. What place does it say he's in?
Tied for 54th.
All right, so there's slight differences.
No, mine's better. All right, very good. Here's what's coming up. Bet everything at Superbook. At Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code Glenn Clark 23. When you sign up, you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Whew, a lot going on. Today, a couple of other women's teams that are still in action. Coppin plays Norfolk State right now on ESPN Plus in the MEAC Women's Tournament. And then Towson takes on Charleston tonight at 7:30 on Flow Sports in the CAA Women's Tournament. Also on ESPN Plus tonight, Navy Hopkins lacrosse at 7, Maryland Portland baseball at 9. Mustang Classic is underway, headlined Stevenson against Lynchburg tonight at 8 o'clock. Go MustangSports.tv. First, NFHSNetwork.com for the first state basketball finals. 2A girls coming up at 5. Francis Scott Key and Hammond. Griffin has decided to cheat and root for Francis Scott Key.
Carroll County.
I've never felt that.
Can't put on for the county.
3A boys, Northeast Anne Arundel and St. Charles at 7. 4A girls, Bethesda, Chevy Chase, and Clarksburg at 9. There is an MLB TV broadcast if you subscribe for Orioles Rays at 1 o'clock. Dean Kramer and Naoki Uesawa.
Well done.
Pitching match. I don't know if that's right or not.
Well, you said it. You just made it.
I did say
sound
it confidently.
convincing.
That's a great point. All of the college basketball tournament action, find at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow, Maryland, Ohio State women's lacrosse at 1 on Big Ten Network, followed by Virginia, Maryland men's lacrosse at 3. That's a big one, obviously, tomorrow at 3. ESPN Plus tomorrow for Bryant, UMBC lacrosse at noon. Boston U, Loyola lacrosse at 1. Mount St. Mary's LIU lacrosse at 2, Maryland-Portland baseball at 6. Flow Sports tomorrow for Towson Drexel lacrosse at noon. Day 2 of the Mustang Classic tomorrow.
Starts off with a banger.
Yeah, that is a big game that you have to start the day. York and Dickinson, and then ends with Stevenson and Washington and Lee tomorrow night at 8. All of the rest of the high school basketball finals tomorrow. 1A girls, Pikesville Southern Garrett at 11 a.m. 1A boys, Cambridge, South Dorchester, Edmondson Westside at 1. 2A boys, Largo Carver at 3. Carver's good at basketball? I thought that was like an arts school. I thought that was that's interesting. 3A girls, Poly Oakdale at 6. 4A boys, Walt Whitman Frederick at 8. I'm not dissing. I just didn't know. I thought it was like an art. I really did thought it was like an art school. Carver. That was surprising to me. That was genuine.
Rub it in your. They're gonna hear this, and that's gonna be all they need.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be mad if they win. It doesn't bother me. I just didn't know. There's 2 Carvers? Wait. Come here. I've never in my life heard this before.
There's a Baltimore City Carver.
What's the Baltimore City Carver?
Carver! Do you know how many Washington high schools
I do know that.
And
Frederick Douglass
and things
like that. Yes.
Please fact check.
I got to be honest.
Do you mind
with
if I have a fry while
I
you
do. I
this?
do, because that's one less that I can have. Wow. Maybe it's
Carver
that
Votech.
Carver Votech's the one I know.
Carver Votech's the one in the championship as well.
I don't know what is the other Carver?
Oh, so Carver Votech.
Yeah, that's the one.
And Towson is in the championship?
Wait, why is
there's a Carver Center. Oh, you're talking about the one. Oh, you're talking about the
Are
one.
they both
right
called Carver Votech?
No.
No, it's
Carver
Votech.
Carver Votech is the one in the city.
Yes. The
Carver
one in Towson,
Center
the art
is
school
Carver.
is
Yeah,
just the
Carver Center.
They just
Okay.
The
I gotta
Carver
be
Center.
here's
and you've got to like
Glenn Clark here. Everybody look at me. This one's on me. I effed up. I swear to God, in my entire life till this day, I thought the school in Towson was Carver Votech. I'm not kidding.
Okay. Well,
I thought that
the
was
one
the
in
case.
Towson is incredibly hard to get into. You've got to
But that's an art school,
dance
right?
or sing or play
Right,
an instrument.
it's an art school.
Yeah.
I had that part of this
and I'm
right.
guessing that their basketball team is not in any
That's
championship.
not playing for a
Correct.
championship, but Carver Votech is.
Today's been a good day, hasn't it?
It's been a wild day today. I flushed.
You know, I'm gone for 2 weeks after.
You're going to Singapore.
Yeah.
Everything's going to fall apart.
That's okay.
Everything's going to come apart at the seams.
More apart.
The next,
Great.
Yeah, right. You okay?
Did you guys already talk about like the Preakness?
We didn't really spend any time on it today. I want a little bit more. I reached out to a couple folks to see if they would come on to talk about it.
Fascinating.
It's essentially what we thought it was supposed to be.
Really? That they would donate it back to the state?
That was how this all. Belinda Stronach was the one who just sort of said, "You can have it," years ago. This goes pre-pandemic.
Yeah, she was going to give it to us, but keep the Preakness and move it to Laurel. That was a big different thing.
No. She was never moving the Preakness to
Okay,
Laurel.
Okay.
The arrangement that Jack Young and Brandon Scott came up with Belinda Stronach always had the Preakness staying at Pimlico and then her just donating Pimlico to. That was always part of it.
Okay.
The weird part is they were never going to have a Preakness that wasn't going to be at Pimlico. The original arrangement didn't have like it moving.
What they would have done? What would they have done with the construction?
They would have like taken both sides. Like that 1 year they would have done one side of it. The other year they would have done the other side of it, and they would have just had reduced.
So the horses run on like a concrete track for half, and the other half of the race.
No, because the track was going to stay in the same place. I believe was going to be the idea. Now the idea is they're going to rotate the track, and so it's going to force them to.
But the crazy thing is, then they're shutting down Laurel.
Yes, that came in the last couple of years. That was not part of the original agreement. That came in the last couple of years. Remember, the idea from the Stronach group, not Belinda Stronach, but like the other people that were running the group, was to shut down Pimlico, of course, and move everything to Laurel. The city,
that didn't fly.
The city made sure that didn't happen. The state was sort of like, trying to beat Switzerland in the whole process. Like, we like everybody,
As long as it stays in the state,
right? That's
you
all
guys
they were really
figured it out.
saying.
Yeah.
So the city, and it really was however you feel about them, Jack Young and Brandon Scott in particular were hell bent on how do we come up with something that works. And ultimately, what they came around on was this idea where Belinda Stronach just said,
yeah,
I don't care as much as these guys do. Like, you can have it.
Yeah.
You can have it, but we still own the Preakness. You get the track.
Right. That's what it was.
We keep the race. The race is still ours at your track. And so how beneficial it is, I don't know. I just don't know all the details of it. The good news is it keeps the Preakness here except for 1 year where it will have to be run at Laurel.
Yeah.
before they close Laurel, I guess that's 2026 would be the
Something
year.
like that, yeah.
Because I think they said the 2025 Preakness would be the 150th, so they want that to be run at Pimlico, and then they'll revamp everything after
gotcha.
that.
So they're going to do it this year, next year, and then revamp.
And then 2027, it would be at this new Pimlico that, if you've seen the renderings of the clubhouse,
Oh,
you're
it's
like,
very
what
cool.
is this?
Yeah.
Like, this looks amazing.
And it's
But-
going to be a concert venue and
Yes.
and festivals and
then how much of it is permanent seating versus how much of it is
Right.
temporary seating? Like, we have to figure all that out, and what the ultimate, I think they said the capacity would be 70,000 seats, plus whatever they could put in the infield after that for Preakness. So
Wow.
I'm still working through a lot of the details of it, and
I'm sure they are too.
I did reach out to a few folks. Hopefully we'll hear, because it's also weird. The names that are attached to the change. When we first started working on this 5 years ago with my guy Bill Cole, the names that were on this list yesterday, I'm like, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah, I know Billy, yeah.
Well, Bill, of course, everybody knows, but I'm saying, the names that
Yeah.
were on the press release yesterday and, I'm like, I don't know who these people are. I'm reaching out to them like a stranger.
Interesting.
Hey, I'd like to
Can
talk
Bill
to
help you?
Probably. I just haven't had the chance to do it yet, but I'll
Something
work
a little more important here. I didn't realize they brought dessert till just now.
Yeah, that's also a thing. I'm telling you, Griffin's going to be upset because he's never getting more of this tray that's next to me. The pickle tray is mine. Unless you like olives. You can have all the olives, but everything
How
else.
do you like pickles but not olives?
The texture of an olive.
Do you like the little
Olives don't taste
onion
good.
things?
I do. I just literally house like a sweet onion. Just sat here. Not kidding.
This
There was
really
an
has
extra
been
one
an
right there.
eventful day.
Oh,
Happy
boy.
St. Patrick's Day
No,
from the best Jewish deli in Baltimore.
The best deli there is. Love Atman's. All right, enjoy yourself.
Cool.
Don't
Rainbow cake bite.
You're making me go away now?
Please don't get caned while you're over there.
No, I've been told a number of things that are
Please.
frightening me. So he can't chew gum, which I don't chew gum anyway. That's okay. When you
Mhm.
get to my age, you shouldn't chew gum because often a tooth just comes out with it.
Okay.
But you can't chew gum. God forbid, don't spit on the street. I don't do that either.
Oof.
I don't
John,
do that
know,
either.
John, you spit on the street.
No, I really don't. It's
Seems
okay.
like you.
It's okay. Yeah. And there are a number of
Habitual.
things.
Yeah.
He's
My
a habitual street
So my
spitter.
good friend is a big time infectious disease doctor, and he told me what inoculations to take and all that. So I've had all these shots, and he
Well,
goes.
I'm
and
pretty
he
sure.
goes,
I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers said you don't need anything.
Well, he
and
goes
he's
one
the
more
vice
thing.
president.
He goes. I hope that happens almost at some level.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Oh, come on. It'd
Wanna
be
be
like when
stepped
Jesse
in
Ventura
Aaron
was
Rodgers.
governor.
That wasn't our problem. Had
That's
nothing to do with
true.
us.
That's true. Oh, he's the other potential running mate,
Yes,
by the way.
it could be Jesse
So,
Ventura.
just random warnings I got from this infectious disease doctor, defined, by the way, Dr. David Sullivan of Johns Hopkins, said, oh, and by the way, if you go to the beach, wear shoes. And I'm like, what? Why? What? He goes, well, if you get a little cut because of glass or something, there are these parasites on the beach that will crawl into and
This is Vietnam.
invade your entire body. Yeah, Vietnam.
Awesome.
And then he goes, oh yeah.
Awesome.
Don't go swimming in any lakes, rivers,
Wear a condom when
ponds,
you go
or
swimming.
still water.
You
I do that.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
You can only go swimming in the ocean or a pool, and if you go in the ocean, be wearing shoes. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go to Ocean City.
Yeah,
and bag
right.
the whole
Yeah, I
thing.
can
I was like,
go
this
eat
is
some
crazy.
noodles.
So I've had
somewhere.
5 shots. Are
you going to go to the place where Tony Bourdain and Barack Obama ate noodles? It's like a very famous.
I know the place you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
under consideration. It's in Ho Chi Minh City.
Okay.
Which is also Saigon. Which
right.
It's so confusing because it's both.
No, it's Istanbul, Constantinople situation.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
No, I would like to go to that place because people say it's.
Yeah.
First of all, if Tony Bourdain said so, then that's good.
No, that's right.
That's
right.
good enough for
I
me.
even saw that episode with him with Obama.
Yeah, it was a very big deal, and I think the place is they won't let you sit where they were sitting or something.
Yeah,
like
I'm sure
that.
the chairs are painted.
Yeah, something like that.
And you get your pho and
right, but
go from there.
and I don't know if the prices have changed because the story was
Dude, the
that
prices
Tony,
are ridiculously. They're like a whole meal is like $250 at a nice place.
Yeah, and that was the point that Tony made. Is
meanwhile,
like,
Singapore is like New York City.
Oh,
the exact
really?
same meal in Singapore, a couple hundred miles or whatever away, is $30.
Yeah. Yep. No, I have. Look, I'm not I don't worship at the altar of Tony. Like, it's not like I'm obsessed with Anthony Bourdain the way that some people are. But his points were always like Anthony Bourdain had some thoughts that we were like, yeah, that like when you visit somewhere, Get what they do.
Yeah, no joke.
Like when you go to
I'm
New
not
York,
going to the pizza place.
Don't go to the French restaurant in New York.
Right.
Like it might be wonderful. It might be the best French restaurant in the
pizza,
world. Yes,
yeah.
but he would say go get a dirty water hot dog. You're in New York.
Get New York style pizza.
Go. Yeah. That's what you should do when you're in New York.
When you're in Baltimore,
Yes, get Atman's or crab cakes. You know, obviously one or the other. But I would get.
I'm sure there's something crab infused at Atman's.
They do. I know they do. They actually have a crab cake.
Okay, there you go.
100%. All right, be safe.
I'll
please
go
don't,
away now.
Please don't get
good.
caned. Please don't get caned. Like, come back.
Thank you.
Don't create an international incident where you're being held for.
That might be good for I don't know.
Look at you. Look at John Colson just taking. That was the one Griffin wanted. It's fine. He can have that one. Well, I don't know which one is which.
One of them's pastrami. If that's turkey, I'll be happy. I mean, I'll be happy regardless.
All
but
right, very good.
It's turkey.
Tubular I was doing, and then I got lost on Carver. That's what happened. Remember I wanted to end the show at a normal time
Yeah,
today?
I
Son of a
know.
bitch. I got a lot of work to do, and I got to do the game at 3:30. All right, anyway, Walt Whitman Frederick is the last one tomorrow night. Radio tomorrow for Red Sox Orioles at 1. Corbin Burns on the mound. Sunday, selection show, the men's selection show, 6 on CBS, and the women's selection show at 8 on ESPN. Maryland-Portland baseball at Sunday at 3 on ESPN+. Radio for Braves Orioles on Sunday. Tyler Wells on the mound. I don't know. Everything else, GlennClarkRadio.com. Non-sports?
Not a whole lot. The new Ghostbusters is coming out soon. So Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson will be on Fallon tonight.
Okay.
And the finale of The Dynasty on Apple TV Plus. Finally.
I'm just not caught up.
And then on Netflix, Irish Wish.
I wonder how it's going to end. I hope Tom Brady becomes a lion.
Lindsay Lohan is a bridesmaid and her best friend's wedding is in Ireland, and she actually really likes the guy that her friend's marrying, so she makes a wish once she gets to Ireland.
No.
Hence Irish Wish.
No.
And
This is the biggest
and
no.
She wakes up and she's getting married to the guy.
The biggest no I've ever heard in my life.
But the guy she met on the plane heading out to Ireland,
Yeah.
she figures out that she actually loves that guy.
Great. That sounds awful. I mean, like a level of awful I can't describe.
It's Lindsay Lohan.
Sure. All right. Thanks today to Atman's, first of all, but also thank you to Jeff Diamond, as well as to Luke Jackson and Reeta. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. The Bat Around tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. with Paul and Ryan. No Glenn and Reeta on Sunday, but we'll be back on Monday. Jonathan Mayo from MLB.com. He was at breakout game for the Orioles and the Pirates last night. All right. Very good. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. I can't even read that list because I'm just got food everywhere. All of our great sponsors and partners, including Roost Chris, Live Casino and Hotel, Atman's Deli, AJ Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great, great weekend. Go all of the local teams. Duke sucks.